sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate.
All right, welcome to American Sunrise, early edition. Coming up, day 18 of the war in Iran. 13 U.S. troops now dead and about 200 injured as new questions intensify about how long this conflict will last. Overnight, President Trump weighing in his latest remarks, and what comes next, that's coming up. And as we count down to the opening bell, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says more ships are starting to flow through the Strait of Hormuz. The latest from Wall Street and how the war is moving oil and gas prices higher. That's later this morning. And on Capitol Hill, the high-stakes showdown over the SAVE Act, a key procedural vote expected soon as President Trump pushes for action. A live report on that coming up as well as we kick off American Sunrise Early Edition starts right now.
Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition. The show where faith, freedom, and the values that built this nation take center stage.
You people and others like you built this country.
Join us as we break down the stories that matter.
FAFO.
If you don't know, now you know.
American Sunrise Early Edition on Real America's Voice starts now.
All right, good morning. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of American Sunrise Early Edition. I am Brian Glenn. We've got a lots in store. Take a look at the bottom of your screen right now, though. This is a cool way. That QR code is your ticket to join the Weather Nation family. You can scan it, get connected, and even better, your hometown forecast could be next. So head over to Real America's Voice chats on Getter, Rumble, and YouTube. And during the 9 a.m. hour of American Sunrise, if you're selected, we'll deliver your hometown forecast live. So jump in, be a part of the fun, and join us over on Weather Nation. Now, joining us now to talk about today's forecast is Weather Nation's own Tracy Anthony. Good morning, Tracy. Lots of weather. I mean, right now in your world, the weather gods are shining down on you. Plenty to talk about right now.
Yeah, we are extremely busy, and really from coast to coast across the lower 48, even Hawaii and Alaska have also felt the major changes and the major pattern swings over the last couple of days. Brian, I wanted to show everyone a couple of videos because it has just been so extreme. Green Bay picking up 17 inches of snow just on Sunday. They added to that on Monday. You can see visibility just very low, driving very treacherous. So blizzard conditions and blizzard warnings were still in place yesterday. Now, as this storm system moved across the central and the southeast coast, you can see all that lightning there from satellite. We did have some strong and severe thunderstorms that did cause a lot of damage. We had wind reports really from the central plains all the way to the east coast. We had a handful of days with tornado warnings and tornado reports. You can see the damage here. Now, the National Weather Service will definitely be busy surveying the damage from those storms. But look at this. Yesterday, after the strong storms rolled on through, it's the cold air that pushed in. These birds in Alabama dealing with some snow.
Yeah. I've got a bird buddy at the house, and I can tap into it and watch, and the birds have been enjoying this cold weather. Of course, they enjoyed the fresh seed I put out for them as well. But Take a look at that. That's great.
Yeah, right.
I didn't think birds were going to be in the forecast today.
And that's cool. Just it. Sometimes we call it Feather Nation. It just kind of depends on what we get. But we had a lot of, storms across the southeast. Wanted to show you how many. We had over 2,500 wind reports just in the last 72 hours across the country. We also still have a good amount of heat reports that we're expecting throughout the day today across parts of the southwest. So we will have the record heat out west. We're also going to have wrapping up blizzard conditions. So those are kind of some of the big headlines from coast to coast. Fire danger across the central plains and a cold morning for the southeast. So behind this system, it's the cold air, but the wind chill values is where you're really going to feel it. We do have sub-zero wind chill values across the Great Lakes, but look at Atlanta. That feel like temperature as you step outside is going to feel like 23 degrees. So very chilly all the way down to the Gulf Coast here throughout the start of the day. So bundle up. The good news is it's not going to last too long because that heat is going to build very quickly. But talking about the heat, Phoenix, 95 degrees throughout the day today. And we're actually on track to hit our first triple-digit daytime high. So our earliest triple-digit daytime high. So Phoenix, you are under excessive or extreme heat warnings, and heat advisories stretch all the way up the coast of California, all the way through the Bay Area. These heat advisories will be in place all week, so we're not going to see this pattern break down. But as mentioned, Phoenix, your earliest triple-digit high temperature is March 26th, and we're actually forecast tomorrow to get to 101 degrees. So, Brian, this is where that heat is really playing a factor in the weather, So look at this. Record highs all the way through Sunday in Phoenix, and those are triple-digit high temperatures. So we're feeling like summer well before we typically do. So it's just very abnormal here, really from coast to coast.
Yeah, my son's been in Europe for the last month and a half on a music tour. Now he's heading back to the West Coast. And I said, well, you better make sure that your AC works because you've got triple digits out there, record heat.
Long duration happening. Too. Yeah, it's going to stick around all week.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. And of course, one of our lucky hometown viewers will have their forecast, and we'll see how. I'm real curious, real quickly. How do you select them? Do you just randomly put their name in a hat, you take it out, and you go, oh, Chuck from Omaha. Here's your forecast.
It's a good question. If I've seen them a few times and I haven't been able to get to those ones, those are the ones I'll pick. If it's relevant to the weather story, it's kind of even better because then I can show some video. But I do keep a list. So if you drop your hometown and you don't see it that day, if we don't get a ton the next day, I do have a list, so I'll pull from that list.
Wonderful. Now we know. It's been revealed right here.
The secrets.
All right, Tracy, we'll see you back here in a little bit.
Sounds good.
All right. Now to our top story. Day 18 of the war in Iran, the latest this morning, 13 U.S. troops now dead and about 200 wounded. President Trump tells PBS that he believes the war could end soon, while warning Iran's main oil export hub could be targeted if the fight continues. Let's bring in Michael Letts. He's a global security expert and U.S. Army veteran. Michael, good morning. As this war drags on, what's the best likely scenario at this stage? And just give our viewers that might be a little confused on kind of the timeline of what's happening right now. I know probably you're asked quite frequently, how long is this going to last? I know I'm asked that as well. So let's break it down for our viewers.
Well, certainly, Brian, appreciate the opportunity and glad to do that. Let's start off about why did we go in now? Because, you've got elections going on. And, of course, it's the two-edged sword, Brian. Things go extremely well. You have an extremely upside in November. Things go south. You have an extremely downside in November. So why now? And there are not a lot of reasons for that. But one of the reasons was not just the fact that we're trying to maintain national security from a organization from a country that has been a financier of terrorism for decades. But also this has a tremendous impact on the Chinese economy as well. And, China was making some real pushes to try to move and to manipulate our economic situation. So because of that fact, this was an opportune time. However, it's only an opportune time if we could make it a quick maneuver. i.e. 5 to 6 weeks. We are ahead of schedule. We expect that we'll be able to wrap this up probably by the end of this week to maybe the first part of the next week, but hopefully within 7 days or less, we should be able to finish our operation. Where is our operation at, and what are the glitches? Well, of course, first of all, we wanted to make sure that we eliminated Iran's ability to have nuclear capability and threaten people. Done. Taking care of. You said, I thought we did that a year ago. We did it a year ago, but China quickly stepped forward to Iran and said, hey, we'll replace what you're missing. We'll help you get back on track. This time they won't have the opportunity to do that. We are taking out Iran's nuclear capability, period. Second of all, we wanted to make sure that we protected the lives of America. And this is where you hear debate sometimes, Brian, about, I thought we were going to do America first and Americans' priorities first. What are we doing in Iran? Well, this is America first. Because when you take a look at the thousands of American soldiers who have died over the last few decades because of the terrorism that Iran has planned and sponsored, this is the best ability and the best way to protect our citizens and our soldiers and to keep America safe. So yes, it is because of America that we're moving in now. Then what are some of the other things that we took a look at? Well, we just mentioned about China. You know, China gets its oil from Venezuela and from Iran. Well, you saw what happened to Venezuela a couple months ago. Kind of put a crink on China's ability to get their financing, their oil, and to keep their economy propped up. Their economy is already suffering tremendously. Now with Iran being under threat in terms of reducing the amount of oil it will produce for China, because we'll be helping direct some of that, it will have another tremendous impact on China. Remember, China's the one just a couple years ago was flexing the muscle. We're thinking about coming over to Taiwan. We're coming in, and we have all kinds of illegal immigrants in America. We've got biolabs in America. We've got police stations in America. We're going to kind of control what America does. You don't hear that very much lately now, do you? Because they're trying to figure out how to keep their own economy alive and keep their own people fed. So this was a great opportunity to accomplish that as well. And then, of course, obviously, all of that would cause a change in leadership. And this is one of the keys. The Israelis partnered with us. The Israelis went in. We decimated their leadership. There's splitter groups, but it was pretty much decimated. But the idea was, Brian, that if it was decimated, the citizens would rise up and the dissidents would come in and finish the job, for lack of a better word, and take their country back and determine what they're going to do in the future, free elections, how they're going to operate, et cetera. To date, Brian, we are hearing rumblings, but we haven't actually seen that in full force yet. That's what's causing a play in the time. And, of course, the longer it drags out, the more havoc these splitter groups can cause. You're seeing what they're trying to do now in the Strait of Hormuz, trying to say, oh, we're going to block any ability for oil tankers to come through. Now, we've got great responses. You know, it really is the responsibility of the countries that receive the oil. They need to send their military navy and help escort those ships through. But there are still some details being worked out in that area. So they're still causing us some consternation. And that's why, you know, to the folks of Iran, I understood when it first started, the president had made the comment, you know, you want your country back, help is on the way. And then, of course, they thought, well, that was about 4 or 5 weeks before help got on the way. Understand that there was a lot of pushback within the administration that, well, I don't know if we should go right now. Maybe we should go to negotiations. Maybe we should wait. That caused a delay. And I'm sure the citizens of Iran thought, are we really going to come through? Well, I can tell you this administration, when they say something, they do what they say. Now, he didn't necessarily tell you he was going to come, you know, within a day. He didn't give you a timetable when we were coming, but we're there now.
All right. Well, we're at the end of this segment. Michael, I appreciate you weighing in on this topic, and you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Brian.
All right. Coming up, the countdown to the opening bell. Then this Capitol Hill as a SAVE Act takes center stage, and don't miss Real America's Voice live from CPAC in Dallas, presented by our friends at Patriot Mobile and Birch Gold next week, March 25th through the 28th. Take a listen.
Get ready, America. March 25th through 28th. CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State, and Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the RAV stage. Hear from RAV's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. Gina and others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice, presented by Birch Gold Group and Patriot Mobile.
At Real America's Voice, we love Pastor Jensen Franklin, a faithful servant of the Lord who brings our audience life-changing sermons every Sunday.
God is after a conversation with you.
And now, Jensen has a new book that will impact you too. What if your most effective prayers were not your longest ones? So many believers feel pressure to say more, thinking longer or more eloquent prayers will move the hand of God. But Scripture says otherwise. Throughout the Bible, brief, heartfelt prayers brought breakthrough and divine intervention.
And if I can inspire you to pray, I can inspire you to be like Jesus.
You will discover how even a simple cry, like, "Lord, save me," can open heaven's windows.
I really believe it's going to change your life.
Filled with biblical examples and practical encouragement, this book will help you pray with confidence in every circumstance.
You are missing so much more God has for your life.
Get ready to experience the miracles that come when you pray short, bold prayers filled with power. Scan the QR code now and order your copy today on Amazon.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate.
So that's a good-looking shot right there. The White House. Greatest house in the country right there. Welcome back, America Sunrise Early Edition. I am Brian Glenn. Good to have you with us this morning on this Tuesday. But keep an eye on the White House, the markets, and the latest out in the Middle East. You can join the conversation on Getter, YouTube, and Rumble. Let's take a look at Wall Street as we head towards the opening bell. The Dow closing up Monday, gaining 387 points at 46,946. The NASDAQ also moving higher, 1.2% to close at 22,374. Meanwhile, a quick check on the energy markets this morning. Brent crude closing just over $100 a barrel. U.S. crude ending the day around $94 as the New York Stock Exchange is set to open at 9:30 this morning. All right, from a market perspective, what are traders watching right now as we head towards the opening bell? Well, joining us now is Global Strategic Advisor Michael Wilkerson, the founder of Stormwall Advisors. Michael, the Treasury Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent speaking overnight. Let's pause and listen, and I'll get your thoughts on the other side.
We are seeing more and more the fuel ships start to go through. The Iranian ships have been getting out already, and we've let that happen to supply the rest of the world. We've seen Indian ships go out now, so the Indians who rely very heavily on Gulf oil. We believe some Chinese ships have gone out. So that should start ramping up.
All right. So, Michael, what's really keeping these markets from sliding right now?
Well, I think there still is a degree of optimism that this will end. I think the markets are in a more precarious and fragile position than they've been in a while. Importantly, Brian, I think what we're seeing is more persistent read-through of these concerns into retail fuel prices. If you think about where we are today, gas prices are up some 27%, over $3.70 on average, and diesel, and this is important, up some 37% now, just under $5 on average at retail. Why does this matter? It matters because diesel, the trucks that are driven across the country, most of our food, 70% of it is carried on trucks across the country. So we're likely to see read-through from diesel prices into higher food prices, higher food inflation. And what's interesting is the issue about diesel, it used to be cheaper than gasoline, now more expensive. We have to go back to 2020 and the lockdowns, the things that occurred during COVID, during the pandemic. A lot of the U.S. refining capacity for diesel was shuttered, and it hasn't been reopened. It's very difficult to do so. So I say that to say diesel prices are high, and they're likely to continue to impact fuel and thus food prices going forward. Latest expectations now are that we're going to see CPI inflation return to above 3% this year, having just touched down at 2.4, 2.5% in the most recent month, likely to go back up again in the coming months.
Okay, Michael, got about 30 seconds left. Real quickly, do these higher gas prices and oil prices necessarily translate to higher profits for some of these oil companies?
A lot of the trading that's been going on in the oil markets has been by traders, speculators, whose business it is to win or lose fortunes in this industry. Usually, though, you're absolutely right that over time, higher prices translate into higher margins for the oil companies. They get well above their marginal cost of production. The rest of that becomes contribution to profit. And you can expect to see the oil majors doing particularly well in the market in this environment.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for joining us this morning, weighing in on that. You have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
You as well.
All right, it's a busy morning. You're going to need a cup of something. Artillery Tea Company is the only America-first veteran-owned tea brand. Their mission is simple: maximize flavor with whole leaf blends and chemical-free tea bags. No junk, just real tea. And here's the tactical advantage: each bag brews twice. Just go to artilleryteaco.com and place RAV for your 10% off first order. That's artilleryteaco.com. Premium tea, mission-driven, brewed for the brave. Coming up, the latest from Capitol Hill. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Stick around.
America, it's time to make some noise. Scan the QR code right now and download the new song, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Or search for it on iTunes and download it today. In a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, this song is a reminder of something stronger: America's grit, faith, and fortitude. From the label that brought you The Boss, Anthem of the Free, and Somali Waltz comes the next anthem, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Scan the QR code and download it now.
It's God, Grit, and Guns. God, Grit, and Guns. God, Grit, and Guns.
To our enemies, FAFO.
God, Grit, and Guns.
America, it's time to make some noise. Scan the QR code right now and download the new song, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Or search for it on iTunes and download it today. In a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, this song is a reminder of something stronger: America's grit, faith, and fortitude. From the label that brought you The Boss, Anthem of the Free, and Somali Waltz comes the next anthem, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Scan the QR code and download it now.
It's God, Grit, and Guns. God, Grit, and Guns. God, Grit, and Guns.
To our enemies, FAFO.
God, Grit, and Guns.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google.
Ain't nobody, I just won't kneel. I don't chase headlines, I live what's real. I raise my kids to think and pray, to know the cause before they
welcome back. Not sure the last time that you were at Las Vegas, but I know one thing. Those buffets are no longer $9.99, folks. They're like $89.99 and $50 to valet your car. Back in the day, it was free. Welcome back. I am Brian Glenn. Glad you're joining us on this very busy morning. As always, we are following the latest developments across the country and around the world. You can join us on Getter, YouTube, and Rumble. Now let's head to Capitol Hill, where later this morning, the Senate back on the SAVE Act. Now, Majority Leader John Thune missed Monday's session after a flight delay, go figure. So that procedural vote is now to expect it today. Let's bring in political reporter Neil McCabe, who joins us live on Capitol Hill. Neil, I think it's kind of ironic that Thune missed it because of a flight delay, considering DHS and Homeland, the TSA and air traffic controllers, those guys are all scrambling around. But nevertheless, we move forward. Big day today. Why don't you lay out the game plan for us?
Right. So what's going to happen is that the Senate convenes at 10 a.m., where Thune is expected to take the floor and lay out a roadmap of how it's going to go with the Save America Act. Now, they don't need a supermajority or 60 votes to take up the bill because it's a privileged motion, because it has already passed the House. And so it just goes straight in, and with a simple majority, they can take up the bill. Once the Senate takes up the bill, they can do nothing else on the legislative calendar. They can do the executive calendar. So, for instance, presidential appointments. So say they want to confirm Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma as the new Secretary of Homeland Security. They can switch lanes, do the executive calendar, go back to the legislative calendar. But once they're on this bill, they can't take another bill. So, like, for instance, Homeland Security, that budget, if they went to that, they'd have to stop SAVE. So what's going to happen is we drive on with the SAVE Act, and there are three off-ramps. You either have 60 votes to close debate and then go to the floor. You can take up another bill, for example, Homeland Security, and that basically puts the SAVE Act back in line. You have to take it up again. Or Thune could change the Senate rules, allow for a simple majority to end debate, which would end the so-called filibuster, right? Bring cloture and then bring it to the floor. He does not have the votes right now, the 60 votes to end debate. And so he's got to either, he doesn't want to hand Trump a loss. So the thinking on the Hill now is that he may take up another bill like Homeland Security or something else, sort of push it to the side. He could go to the mattresses, right, and just put up the cots like in the old days and tell everybody, hey, nobody's going anywhere until we finish this bill.
Well, you mentioned this yesterday, that you can't bring anything on the House floor other than water, and maybe there was one more item.
You're going to bring milk, tobacco, and water.
Tobacco and water. And maybe now a cot. Make sure it's maybe a MyPillow mattress topper. I don't know. Make it real comfortable. Okay, so they've lost one senator. Fetterman early on said he was for this. Now he says the way it looks right now, it's like a Christmas tree. It's got all this random stuff on it. One of them being no men in women's sports, no brainer. I don't know why it's in the SAVE Act, but no brainer. And then no transgender surgeries on minors at all. Once again, don't have any idea why it's in this particular act, but it is something that overwhelmingly is supported. Why do you think John Fetterman has backpedaled on this?
Well, just like Joe Manchin in the past, Fetterman has realized that you can fiddle in the middle and play both sides against each other, and for fun and profit, right? It's it's a great place to be because you get stuff from Republicans, you get stuff from Democrats. In the end, though, Fetterman is a Democrat, and so he caucuses with the Democrats. His seniority, if the Democrats take over the Senate, his ability to be a chairman or whatnot is all with the Democrats. And you'll notice a lot of times Manchin made a lot of noise, but in the end ended up voting with the Democrats. So, I mean, he's basically fiddling in the middle.
Yeah. And one thing that I criticize a lot is Fox News will have Fetterman on once a week, Josh Shapiro, and all these other Democrats. And they have elevated them to a status where they're now respected in a way, and they're no longer deemed, defensive towards they're normalizing them so that people in Pennsylvania don't view them as radicals anymore. And it just increases their likelihood of being reelected. It's one of the things I cannot stand in all of this. They pop Fetterman up as being this really negotiable guy, and he's seen things our way, but you just laid it out. At the end of the day, he's still a Democrat. He's still going to vote along party lines.
Right. The key thing about the Save America Act is that there's nothing in the Save America Act that is unpopular. Everything polls 75, 80, 90%. And certainly the provisions on transgenderism, especially for the youth and sports, that all polls at like 80, 90%. So it's the Democrats are taking signal from the donor tower, not the voter tower. And that's going to be their undoing.
You're right. And so, as we move forward into midterms real quickly, and I want to get your thoughts on this, how does the war and inflation weigh on the midterms? Are the voters going to look past this? Are we going to low? Obviously, overall inflation has come down. President Trump has done a marvelous job of bringing that down. But the gasoline prices right now are high because of the war. How does that play in the midterms, do you think?
I think it's going to have to. Everything's going to be decided after Labor Day, and you have the 250th anniversary of this country. You have the World Cup. There's a lot going on between now and the election. You're also going to have the Republicans are going to host a midterm convention, which should help them organize and get motivated. There's still a lot of stuff down the road. Right now, I haven't seen anything that says we're not going to finish this war in Iran, in 4 weeks. The only thing I was promised an uprising, I haven't seen an uprising. It may come. Remember, when you're in a bombing campaign, you can't expect people to be out on the streets.
I think President Trump said that in the Oval Office. He doesn't expect people to gather in the streets when there's snipers around to get them out. Neil, thank you so much for joining us. How can people follow you on the Hill for all the latest developments?
Yeah, you can follow me at Reporter McCabe on all the socials, Brian. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too, Neil. Appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you. All right, we've got more American Sunrise Early Edition coming up. Also, the real release from Real America's Voice, God, Grit, and Guns has a new giveaway. Check this out.
If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
I don't hate nobody, I just won't kneel. I don't chase headlines, I live what's real. I raise my kids to think and pray, to know the cause before they say, I don't scare easy, I don't scare fast. It's God, grit, and guns, no fear in my chest.
Because of you, Real America's Music just released the brand new single, God, Grit, and Guns, and it's already climbing the charts. Now let's take it a step further. Go download the song right now, and you'll automatically be entered to win a special prize. If God, Grit, and Guns hits #1 on Billboard, one random downloader will receive the plaque, a real piece of music history. So what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code or search God, Grit, and Guns on iTunes and download it today. Let's run it up the charts.
God, Grit, and Guns.
America, it's time to make some noise. Scan the QR code right now and download the new song, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Or search for it on iTunes and download it today. In a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, this song is a reminder of something stronger, America's grit, faith, and fortitude. From the label that brought you The Boss, Anthem of the Free, and Somali Waltz, comes the next anthem, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Scan the QR code and download it now.
It's God, Grit, and Guns. God, Grit, and Guns. God, Grit, and Guns.
To our enemies, FAFO.
God, Grit, and Guns.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google. Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition, the show where faith, freedom, and the values that built this nation take center stage.
All right, welcome back on this Tuesday. Now, you saw the promo for the great giveaway. I actually had my phone. I was trying to scan it because I want to win it. That is pretty cool. And, of course, Real America's Voice music has been phenomenal of sending these singles to the charts. So get involved with that. Scan it, enter to win, because that would be pretty cool. How many people could say they actually have an album, Billboard album on your wall that you can put on there? That's pretty cool. But welcome back. Now we'll get back to the show. American Sunrise, I'm Brian Glenn. Glad you're with us on this very busy morning. As always, we're following developments around the country and around the world. You can join us on Getter, YouTube, and Rumble. But right now, let's head over to the Denver newsroom and get the very latest headlines with someone who I would imagine has several gold records on his wall, Terrance Bates. Terrance?
Well, you know, I'm a former member of the Bee Gees. I was the unheard and unseen member of the Bee Gees, so I probably have some gold records from that, Brian, yes. At least in my mind, because I sing along with them as if I am part of the group when their music comes on. Good morning to you, B. A lot to talk about overnight. I'm sure you've probably heard this by now, and we're working our sources to get even more information. Israel is confirming that it has killed one of the top security leaders in Iran, one of the top Iranian security leaders also. They're saying that they've killed the head of the Revolutionary Guard's volunteer Basij force, which is kind of a paramilitary group that's part of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. So there's some developments overnight as it relates to the war in Iran. Again, we'll continue to monitor all of that for you and update you on that, particularly in the next hour on American Sunrise. But Brian, in the meantime, scammers and fraudsters, well, they may want to beware, because J.D. Vance and the federal government, well, they're coming after you. On On Monday, President Trump signed an executive order appointing Vice President Vance chairman of a new fraud task force. The White House points to social services scams in Minnesota that have already led to dozens of indictments and cost taxpayers billions of dollars. The president also says there's a strong reason to believe that similar vulnerabilities exist in California, Illinois, New York, Maine, and Colorado.
This administration was fraudulent, okay, and I think that's what you're going to find out. And the kind of money we're talking about is just country changing. It's country changing money. It's having a deficit to having a really profitable country where you can lower your taxes substantially for people. And I think you have an opportunity to do it. And I think you two guys are the right guy. If you guys can't do it, we've got a problem.
Federal Trade Commission Chairman Andrew Ferguson is going to serve as the vice president's vice chair in this particular effort. The task force is going to develop a comprehensive national strategy to curtail fraud that's impacting state and local housing, food, medical, and financial assistance programs, among other duties. Brian, as I was listening to all of this yesterday and watching all of this play out, it makes a lot of sense to go after these fraudsters. Hopefully, it will be kind of an extension, if you will, of DOGE, and will be really protecting taxpayers' dollars and making sure that the money that is going to these various agencies is specifically being used for that, and that people aren't getting away with, with riches and enriching themselves on these agencies.
And I like the nickname that they have given Vice President J.D. Vance on this, the fraud czar. I think he weighed in on that. President Trump likes fraud czar, and I think the American people like it too. I'm looking forward to see how this turns out.
Exactly. I hope they're really able to realize some savings and catch these fraudsters in the act and not only prosecute them, but more importantly, keep the money back in the pockets of these agencies and the American people. All right, Brian. So look, the commander-in-chief also making headlines this morning after overseeing the latest meeting of the Trump Kennedy Center board. While the board officially voted to close operations at the facility for 2 years in order to renovate it, former president of the board, Rick Grinnell, is now stepping away, and Matt Flocka, well, he was the vice president of facilities and operations. He is now the CEO and executive director of the center.
Previous management left us a facility in very bad condition. Abysmal is the word, and everything from busting pipes and leaks to serious electrical and structural problems. And some of it we fixed, but most of it we're saving for during the construction period because we'll do a much better job of it that way.
The 2-year-long construction project is going to begin after the America 250 celebration on July 4th. Brian, I haven't been to the Kennedy Center in decades. I mean, it literally has been decades. Is it in that much of disrepair? Have you been recently, fairly recently?
I have been. Last year, when they had kind of the inaugural events there and some red carpet events there, I had a chance to go and cover that and had a chance to kind of walk behind the scenes, if you will. I mean, I don't have a background in construction now, but one thing I really love about this is President Trump, with his background in construction and real estate, he sees things. He sees the bones of the structure. And he knows, Terrance, exactly what it's going to take to bring it up to the first class status. So by them closing down and making it where they can completely do this construction and without any type of interruption of bringing performances in and things like that, I think it makes a lot of sense to closing down for 2 years. I really do. And I know a lot of people weren't really up for that because they missed the performances. But man, are we going to have a fantastic facility when they open this thing back up?
Absolutely. And President Trump already saying he's going to do it on time and on budget. You know, with the federal government, anything that's on time and on budget is pretty rare. So President Trump, good luck to you on that one, right?
Yeah. Well, he'll do it. He'll do it. I mean, previous administrations, they might still be building the train like Gavin Newsom, the train to nowhere in California, going to build. That's not the case with this facility. I feel like he's going to come in on time, under budget.
Absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And Brian, finally, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s changes to the childhood vaccine schedule are on hold this morning after a federal judge ruled that they likely violated federal procedures. Back in January, Kennedy ordered an end to broad recommendations for all children to be inoculated against things like flu, rotavirus, meningitis, and RSV, among many other sicknesses. The medical community, as typical, especially the American Academy of Pediatrics, revolted. That led to lawsuits asking judges to stop Kennedy from scaling back the nation's childhood vaccination schedule. Monday's ruling specifically focuses on the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, which basically oversees public health issues related to vaccines and recommendations to doctors and patients. At issue is that Kennedy fired the entire 17-member panel last year and then replaced it with advisors that he trusts, including several anti-vaxxers. The judge ruled the firings and subsequent newly formed group likely violated federal law. Thus, the new immunization rules are on ice. The Department of Health and Human Services says that it is going to challenge this latest decision and looks forward to the ruling being overturned. Just another example, Brian, of the administration being caught up in various civil matters and in court as they're trying to move their agenda forward. It seems like they move 2 steps forward but 3 steps back, simply given these various court rulings.
Yeah, I know it was very popular of what he did in terms of these vaccines and the regulatories and what was required and what they were administrating. But if you look at it from a legal standpoint, he probably didn't do it the right way. And I guess that's when it comes down to it, that's what the court found. But as far as a public court of opinion, he's doing exactly what the people want. I mean, if you look at the amount of shots, vaccines that a newborn baby gets compared to what it used to be. I mean, it's amazing. It's incredible the amount of vaccines that are given to a newborn, and a lot of people speculate that's a little bit too many vaccines for these young babies. But we'll see how this plays out. But it doesn't surprise me that the pushback that we're getting, Terrance, on all of this comes from the judicial system. The courts are pushing back on this stuff.
And the courts seem to be the Achilles heel to the administration. The lawyers are definitely getting their money's worth because they're in court almost every other week, it seems like, fighting back or pushing back against some sort of challenge to the policies. And as it relates to these vaccines, the issue here, for me at least, and for many, is that all the ruling from the Department of Health and Human Services says is that there is a limit of required vaccines. If you're a parent and you want to get your kid inoculated against whatever it is, you still have the right. Those vaccines are still available to you. The required list is simply much smaller than it had been. And as a person, and again, not to make this about me, Brian, but as a person who doesn't like to take medicine as an adult, why would I doctor my kid up with all these different substances when they haven't even built an immunity? Just my 2 cents. Doesn't make sense.
No, it's you're speaking common sense, and I know there'll be a lot of look. There's a lot of opinions on this. I'm with you on this. I don't want all this stuff given to a newborn baby. Look, I have a hard time taking vitamins. I have a hard time taking medicine. I just really do, and so I look at what we're giving these kids. And it does. Some of it doesn't make sense, but he is doing amazing things. With as far as I can't think of another administration, Terrance, when we spent that much effort on trying to create a healthy America, of getting our food cleaned up, getting the chemicals out of our food. I can't think of another president that has brought that so much effort in doing this.
No, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. definitely has changed the paradigm as when it comes to how we look at public health. I mean, making America healthy again truly has not just been kind of a catchphrase. He's embodied that and has really taken some concrete steps to ensure that our food sources are healthier, to ensure that in general, as a public, our society is a lot healthier. And kudos to him for doing that. That's one of those issues that's not a party-specific issue. That's an issue that resonates with Democrats, Republicans, and he can get some of those moms to the table, because I can tell you for one, my wife, she hears that kind of stuff and she is all on board. Taking out food coloring out of drinks, oh, you had her right there.
Yep. And shout out to people like Steak and Shake that have committed to like beef tallow for their fries. And I think this has pushed corporate America to be healthier, and that's always a good thing. Terrance, thank you so much for joining.
Come on, did you really bring up Steak and Shake fries, Brian? Come on, Steak and Shake.
Well,
those little thin fries. Come on, those little shoestring fries. You know, a chubby guy like me, I need a big old fat crinkle cut fry, not those little Steak and Shake shoestring fries.
I know.
Those to show you the fat guy talking.
Like this, you just go like the Cookie Monster. You just eat as quick as you can.
There you go.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you a little bit later. Thank you.
All right, Brian. Appreciate you.
Good stuff there, always with T. Bates. All right, well, if a major disruption happened and you couldn't get to the store, how long do you think it would last in your house right now? And if it's anything less than a month, you need to check out our friends at My Patriot Supply. They're America's #1 preparedness company with over 3 million satisfied customers. And right now, when you go to preparewithrav.com, their best-selling 4-week emergency food supply comes with an additional week of food free. This is the best long-term storable food that you can find. You're getting at least 2,000 calories a day, real meals made with real ingredients, no artificial flavors or colors, and shelf life is measured in decades. Look, we all have to have some food stored for emergencies. Why not get it from the most trusted folks in the business and get a free week of food free while you're at it? Go to preparewithrav.com and get your free week of emergency food today. That's preparewithrav.com. Good stuff there. All right, coming up, we'll check in with David Brody and find out what's happening ahead on America's Sunrise. Also, the new release from Real America's Music, God, Grit, and Guns. We have a new giveaway. I talked about this earlier. Check it out.
If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
Don't hate nobody, I just won't kneel. I don't chase headlines, I live what's real. I raise my kids to think and pray, to know the cause before they say, I don't scare easy, I don't scare fast. It's God, grit, and guns, no fear in my chest.
Because of you, Real America's Music just released the brand new single, God, Grit, and Guns, and it's already climbing the charts. Now let's take it a step further. Go download the song right now, and you'll automatically be entered to win a special prize. If God, Grit, and Guns hits #1 on Billboard, one random downloader will receive the plaque, a real piece of music history. So what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code or search God, Grit, and Guns on iTunes and download it today. Let's run it up the charts.
God, grit, and guns.
America, it's time to make some noise. Scan the QR code right now and download the new song, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Or search for it on iTunes and download it today. In a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, this song is a reminder of something stronger, America's grit, faith, and fortitude. From the label that brought you The Boss, Anthem of the Free, and Somali Waltz, comes the next anthem, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Scan the QR code and download it now.
It's God, grit, and guns. God, grit, and guns. God, grit, and guns.
To our enemies, FAFO.
God, grit, and guns.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google.
What's real, I raise my kids to think and pray to know the cause.
All right, welcome back, American Sunrise. That is a live look right now at Dublin, Ireland. A lot of people gathered in the street outside the pubs, having perhaps a cold one, perhaps some green beer. I don't know. Welcome back, American Sunrise. I am Brian Glenn. Let's bring in a host that I don't know if he drinks green beer. Maybe he does. I don't know. David Brody. Maybe that's an appropriate first question for you on this St. Patty's Day. It is green beer question. Kind of guy?
No, it's a great question. No, I gave up the beer I did the college thing, woke up in the morning, wasn't quite sure what I did the night before. And after that, that's pretty much the end of my beer drinking experience. Now, having said that, I have been to that right there in Dublin, that intersection that you just showed. I've been there.
Can we pull that back up real quick? Can we pull that back up?
Can we do that?
Go ahead. Walk me through it, David.
What a memory. We actually had fish and chips right there at the Dublin. Right there, you see, it says the Temple. I can't read what that says there. The Temple something, but that's where we were. So I was there. I wasn't drunk at the time, and I can confirm, though, there'll be a lot of drunk people. Those streets right there, I'm going 60% are drunk now, and 98%, and that's probably low, will be drunk later on tonight.
Well, you got the TISO of Ireland at the White House today. Ironically, he's not in that country. He's in our country.
Yeah.
He'll be meeting with President Trump a little bit later today. Okay, we'll get on to some serious news real quickly. Got about a minute and a half left. Big win for the U.S., taking out a top Iranian official. This guy was pure terror.
Yeah, the head of the Iran security team, if you will. I mean, he's the security chief. So let me get this straight. He didn't do a good job protecting himself.
Nope.
We'll just kind of leave it at that. He's dead. He'll be in hell, by the way, FYI. So there's that. And then the head of the Basij as well, one of the parliamentary, militias, if you will. The Basij is all over Iran. They kind of get into the civilians there, the population. He's gone as well. So this is a big deal. In essence, the guy they took out was the number 2 guy after Khamenei. With all due respect, not really. I just kid around with what's his name, Mashtaba Khamenei, who apparently is gay. Which is another thing. Well, by the way, who's going to kill him first? The United States and Israel, or his own people? Anyhow, or the old regime?
When I read that line, I'm like, what? I had to reread it twice. Insane. All right, David Brody, we'll see you in about 5 minutes on the other side. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy St. Patty's Day, my friend.
You too. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll be back here tomorrow at 7 a.m. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brian Glenn TV. Until next time, goodbye. God bless. We'll see you.
American Sunrise is a great way to start your morning. Join us Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We've got the news of the day and some compelling interviews that you don't want to miss. Here's what you missed from yesterday. If you remember, about a year and a half ago, we were describing MAGA as this huge tent under which everyone is welcome. There might be an argument this morning, though, that tent is falling in on itself, and that would be due to a post we're getting ready to show you. President Trump supporting Mark Levin very publicly, writing on Truth Social, those that speak ill of Mark will quickly fall by the wayside, as do the people whose ideas, policies, and footings, are not sound. They are not MAGA. I am, and MAGA includes not allowing Iran, a sick, demented, and violent terrorist regime, to have a nuclear weapon to blow up the United States of America, the Middle East, and ultimately the rest of the world. MAGA is about stopping them cold, and that is exactly what we are doing. God bless our great military, which I have rebuilt since the beginning of my first term to achieve everlasting peace through strength.
I think this is a fight for the soul of MAGA. What is MAGA going forward post against Trump. And that's going to be a big theme here as we talk about it. You've got Mark Levin and others on one side, obviously. And let's be clear, why he posted that is because over the weekend, Megyn Kelly and Mark Levin got into a big, well, put it this way, we can't put any of that on the air, what they were talking about on both sides. It was nasty. And so President Trump is siding with Mark Levin. That is not going to make a lot of folks in MAGA happy at all.
Senate Democrats expected to block the Save America Act with a filibuster, leaving Republicans short of the 60 votes needed to advance that bill. The GOP holds a 53-47 majority, but without Democrat support, the measure unlikely to pass in the Senate. The House has already approved the bill, which would require documentary proof of citizenship to register to vote and photo identification to pass a ballot in federal elections. Senate leaders say they still plan to hold a vote, even as Democrats vow to block the measure for more.
I think we continue to hold out hope, or we have over the weekend, that the Senate was going to force, that Senator Thune was going to force this talking filibuster to take place and really just wait out or wear out the Democrats so they try to do it. I'm still hopeful that something is going to happen there in the Senate. People of MAGA are savvy, I believe, and I do believe they understand our nation is at stake. And there's been too much opportunity, too much that has taken place with the trifecta that we've been given, too much accomplished in the one big beautiful bill, that we've got to continue this path.
America, it's time to make some noise. Scan the QR code right now and download the new song, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Or search for it on iTunes and download it today. In a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, this song is a reminder of something stronger, America's grit, faith, and fortitude. From the label that brought you The Boss, Anthem of the Free, and Somali Waltz, comes the next anthem, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Scan the QR code and download it now.
It's God, grit, and guns. God, grit, and guns. God, grit, and guns.
To our enemies, FAFO.
God, grit, and guns.
Real America's voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google.
Just ahead on American Sunrise this St. Patrick's Day, President Trump signed an executive order targeting fraud across the nation. Vice President J.D. Vance leading the charge, and states like California, New York, and Illinois are under scrutiny. Billions in tax dollars at risk. Will the federal crackdown change the game? Plus, a new poll reveals a sharp generational divide over Israel among voters under 35. Just 13% hold a positive view. So why are younger Americans turning away from a key U.S. ally? We break down those numbers. Also later, Israel escalating, taking out top Iranian leadership in a stunning precision sight. The IDF says it's rewriting the battlefield. But with Iran vowing retaliation, is this a turning point or the start of something much bigger? We have these stories, so much more, as American Sunrise starts right now.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether
sports culture.
We have breaking news to share with you.
Politics.
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrance.
And I'm Dr. Gina. Good morning. I'm Dr. Gina. We are live with you from the Palm Beaches. Let's bring in David Brody. I want to see if he has on green. And Terrance Bates in our Denver newsroom. Good morning.
Look at the shirt. Look a little bit.
David, I don't know if that counts really at all, but my hair is really frizzy this morning with the Florida weather, so I'm going to forgive you.
You look very green. We're green with envy. That looks great.
I'm very, very, very green. Terrance, good morning. Where's your green?
Yeah, so my green is in the pocket square. You probably really can't see unless you're up close, but I've got green here in the design of my pocket square.
Yeah, you both are the
Does
kids
that count?
you guys are the kids that the bullies would pinch this morning. Were you in elementary school?
I'm going to have some Lucky Charms later today. All right, they're magically delicious. Okay.
I'm just going to say, pinch me in FAFO, okay?
Oh,
pinch
boy.
me if you want to. FAFO.
That kind of mood waking up this morning.
Yeah, I am.
We're off to a rocking
start of bed this morning. So, hey, so look, guys, life expectancy, if you're a leader in Iran, strongly diminished lately. I wouldn't want to be a leader in that country. Wouldn't necessarily at this point want to even live in that country or visit it. A couple of high-ranking Iranian leaders killed in Israeli airstrikes. Check out this headline from the Jerusalem Post, which reads, IDF kills Ali Larijani. He's the biggest targeted killing since former Supreme Leader Khamenei. Also killed is the leader of the Basij, which is the Revolutionary Guard civilian paramilitary wing, if you want. Larijani, by the way, was set to give an address today. He won't be doing that, or if he's, I'll just leave it there. He won't be giving an address today. But this once again goes to show that Israel and the United States working together are taking out the leadership and taking down the leadership of Iran, and hopefully the people of Iran will eventually get into the streets and retake their own future, David.
Yeah, you hope that's the case. I mean, but this is Iran's top security chief. He didn't do a good job securing himself. That's for sure. And by the way, he thinks he's going to wake up in some sort of heaven this morning with virgins around him. Instead, it's going to be Satan, and it's going to be a lower level. So, goodbye, good riddance to evil. And to be clear, everybody talks about war, right? Oh, we don't want to have war. Hold on. God talks about war in the Bible and actually says that sometimes war is necessary, and sometimes you do have to eradicate evil. And that guy is evil, Dr. Gina.
There's no peace without war. The reason why any country has ever enjoyed peace for a moment is because of war. Does that necessarily mean that this war is entirely justified? It's honestly, with everything going on in our geopolitical world, all the things I've learned this year between Epstein and so much else, I really... It's just a time for spiritual reflection on everything, and I don't know who to trust in the political world anymore. I think it's just a little bit of a confusing, unsteady time. But that's when God wants us to go exactly to Him. So let's check out today's Bible verse. It's from Matthew 21:43. The kingdom of God will be taken from you and given to a nation bearing the fruits of it. That, of course, sounds to me like it's from the Old Testament, if you ever heard one. But no, it's not. That's New Testament. Matthew 21. Okay, well, then there you go. President Trump signed an executive order creating an anti-fraud task force that will be led by Vice President J.D. Vance. The order calls for members to come up with a plan in 90 days and then implement the anti-fraud measures. Here's what Trump had to say on that order. Take a look.
If we found half of the fraud that's taking place in this country, and I think you have a chance of doing that, we would have much more than a balanced budget. That's the kind of numbers you're talking about. The theft is incredible. And I think JD will make, and Andrew will make a charge later on that local states should handle nursing homes and all of these things that the federal government shouldn't be involved in. It's too big. The federal government should handle military and a couple of other things.
I love when he talks all Constitution to me like that. All right, let's bring in Mississippi Congressman Michael Guest. Congressman, just how much fraud do you think will actually be uncovered?
You know, I think that you'll see fraud probably in excess of well over $100 billion. I mean, let's just take Minnesota as an example. Minnesota, in one particular federal program, the Medicaid program, it is believed that the fraud in that program, in that state alone, was somewhere between $9 and $19 billion. And so if you extract that across the country, and look, many states do things much better than Minnesota. I think Minnesota is the prime example of how not to run a federal program. But I think you will easily see $100+ billion in fraud that will be uncovered. I hope that in addition to uncovering the fraud and stopping the fraud, that we also see the Department of Justice prosecute those people who are committing the fraud. And that's the biggest complaint that I receive at home when I'm back in Mississippi is when are we going to start seeing people held accountable? When are we going to start seeing people sent to jail for the fraud that they have conducted on the people of the United States of America?
Congressman, let me turn to the war in Iran and specifically the money aspect of it. There are grumblings on Capitol Hill that it's going to be a supplemental, that you're going to have to spend more now, or the Congress is going to have to approve more money for this war. What are you hearing, to use an old-time word, what's the scuttlebutt, if you will, on Capitol Hill about this?
Very likely that this will be part of a reconciliation package that Congress tries to get across the finish line sometime between now and this summer. And you're exactly right. We are going to have to pass additional funding for our military to resupply the armament that we've used, the missiles, the rockets that we've used throughout this conflict. I think that is clear. I think the easiest way to do that would be through a reconciliation package. And I believe that Mike Johnson understands that. And so as leadership is meeting, they're trying to put together those pieces. Will it just be strictly military spending, or will we try to add other things to that reconciliation package? You know, but I think reconciliation is a great thing for Republicans. We need to continue impress our majority that we have, a narrow majority at that, but the American people sent us here to act. They sent us here to pass legislation. They sent us here to get things done, and a crucial key for us to be able to get things done is use that reconciliation package. Let's do reconciliation 2.0. Let's fully fund our military and make sure that they have what they need to continue to conduct this dangerous mission in the Middle East and across the globe, and let's continue to try to live Reagan's vision of peace through strength.
Congressman, what are you hearing on the price tag for this? And I'm not talking about reconciliation writ large. I'm talking about specifically for the war. How much money are you hearing right now?
You know, I'm hearing figures that are all over the place. And so, you know, until we actually, you know, get some good information from the administration to the Pentagon can give us good numbers on what they need going forward, you know, we're kind of just going to be shooting in the dark. You know, in the first reconciliation package, we did put $150 billion in for Department of Defense. Much of that was earmarked to things such as the Iron Dome and other programs. But we really need those hard numbers from the Defense Department before we can look at putting this package together. And look, we can also include some of this spending in FY27 appropriations as we are gearing up and starting those negotiations. It doesn't all have to be in the reconciliation package, but that does seem to be the venue that we can use as Congress to get this through as quickly as possible and not have to worry about the delays. If we wait till the FY27 budget, that is not likely to be passed until late this year, possibly even early next year. Is going to require votes from the Democrats because you would have the filibuster, which is exactly what we're seeing now. We see the Democrats in the Senate filibuster DHS spending. They could do the exact same thing on military spending if we don't use the reconciliation process as the avenue to get that done.
Congressman, let's keep up the money talk. The Hill is reporting that Hakeem Jeffries is looking to force a vote on DHS funding without ICE and CBP. The discharge petition expected to come sometime later this week. Where do you, first of all, stand on this particular issue? Is there an appetite for funding DHS without funding ICE? And I guess kind of the third part of the question is, at some point in time, something's got to move because the FAA and the air traffic issues that are now the victims of this DHS funding fiasco are getting out of hand?
Yeah, I think Leader Jeffries is getting desperate. I think he's seeing the tide of public opinion turn on Democrats as we've seen recent terrorist attacks during the government shutdown, whether it be the shooting in Austin, in Minnesota, the attack there on the synagogue, the university shooting. We've seen cyber attacks in my home state of Mississippi. We saw terrible weather come across the United States. Some of that weather spawned situations where FEMA would have to respond. We've seen in airports across the country waits of 2 to 3 hours for individuals to be able to be screened by TSA to be able to travel on airlines. And so, look, I think this is a desperation move by the leader. The Democrats are losing the public opinion battle on this. Americans are clamoring for the reopening of DHS. And so I think this is a way for Leader Jeffries to deflect on the damage that his party is causing the American people. And look, I do think that we are less safe with DHS closed. We are doing so in a time in which we see the conflict in Iran. It's time to reopen DHS and reopen all of DHS, not just piecemeal. Let's just not say we're going to open Part A, Part B. We need to open the entire agency all at once.
Well, Congressman, let's hope that we privatize the TSA so we don't have to deal with this next time the government shuts down. Sorry, Terrance, you knew I had to get that in. I really want that TSA privatized.
I always put that in my question. I was like, I should couch this for Dr. Gina even in the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, Congressman, inside joke for us.
Yeah, Congressman Michael, and it's not a joke. We really do hope the TSA is privatized. You might tell your friends over there. We are so happy to have you on the show this morning. Thank you so much for being with us. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thanks, Congressman.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day.
All right. Coming up, we're going to check out the hottest headlines from the RAV Newsroom with Terrance Bates, and also later, President Trump demanding U.S. allies step up in the Iran war, calling on other countries to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz. But some of those allies are hesitant or refusing to send warships at all. Is America being left to handle the global crisis alone? We're going to take a look soon, right here on American Sunrise.
Get Ready America, March 25th through 28th. CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State, and Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the RAV stage. Hear from RAV's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. G and others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice, presented by Birch Gold Group and Patriot Mobile. America, it's time to make some noise. Scan the QR code right now and download the new song, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Or search for it on iTunes and download it today. In a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, this song is a reminder of something stronger, America's grit, faith, and fortitude. From the label that brought you The Boss, Anthem of the Free, and Somali Waltz, comes the next anthem, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Scan the QR code and download it now.
It's God, grit, and guns. God, grit, and guns. God, grit, and guns.
To our enemies, FAFO.
God, grit, and guns.
Real
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google. This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
That is Dublin, Ireland on St. Patrick's Day. I've been to that. You see, this is the temple something, whatever that. Anyhow, I've been there. I literally was there. I did not have a pint. I had a glass of water. I'm the biggest loser. By the way, how many people do you think right there in that crowd are drunk? It's about 2 p.m. or so in Ireland. I'm going with 82%. Welcome back, everybody, to American Sunrise. I'm David Brody. All right, let's get to T. Bates. He's got the headlines. It's all sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Scammers and fraudsters, beware. J.D. Vance and the federal government are coming after you. On Monday, President Trump signed an executive order appointing the vice president as chairman of a new fraud task force. The White House points to social services scams in Minnesota that have already led to dozens of indictments and cost taxpayers billions of dollars. The president also says there's a strong reason to believe that similar vulnerabilities exist in California, Illinois, New York, Maine, and Colorado.
This administration was fraudulent, okay, and I think that's what you're going to find out. And the kind of money we're talking about is just country changing. It's country changing money. It's having a deficit to having a really profitable country where you can lower your taxes substantially for people. And I think you have an opportunity to do it. And I think you two guys are the right guy. If you guys can't do it, we've got a problem.
Federal Trade Commission Chairman Andrew Ferguson will serve as the vice president's vice chair in this particular effort. The task force will develop a comprehensive national strategy to curtail fraud that's impacting state and local housing, food, medical, and financial assistance programs, among other duties. And in other headlines, the commander-in-chief making headlines after overseeing the latest meeting of the Trump Kennedy Center board. While the board officially voted to close operations at the facility for 2 years in order to renovate it, former president of the board, Rick Grinnell, is now stepping away, and Matt Flocka, who was the vice president of facilities and operations, is now the CEO and executive director of the center.
Previous management left us a facility in very bad condition. Abysmal is the word, and everything from busting pipes and leaks to serious electrical and structural problems. And some of it we fixed, but most of it we're saving for during the construction period because we'll do a much better job of it that way.
The year-long construction project is going to begin after the America 250 celebration on July 4th. Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s changes to the childhood vaccine schedule are on hold this morning after a federal judge ruled they likely violated federal procedures. Back in January, Kennedy ordered an end to broad recommendations for all children to be inoculated against things like flu, rotavirus, meningitis, and RSV, among other sicknesses. The medical community, especially the American Academy of Pediatrics, revolted, though, leading to lawsuits asking judges to stop Kennedy from from scaling back the nation's childhood vaccine schedule. Monday's ruling specifically focuses on the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, which oversees public health issues related to vaccines and recommendations to doctors and patients. At issue is that Kennedy fired the entire 17-member panel last year and replaced it with advisors that he trusts, including several anti-vacciners or vaxxers. The judge ruled the firings and the subsequent newly formed group likely violated federal law. Thus, the new immunizations are on ice. The Department of Health and Human Services says it will challenge the latest decision, and it looks forward to the ruling being overturned. That's a quick check of your headlines. Now let's get a quick check of your forecast with Weather Nation meteorologist Tracy Anthony. Tracy, spring is technically here, but depending on where you live, it doesn't necessarily feel like it, right?
Yeah, there's definitely certain areas that are going to feel like spring, even summer. But Green Bay, yesterday, look at those visibilities. They had a ton of snow, 17 inches just on Sunday. We added to that throughout the day, Monday. And Marquette, Michigan, over 3 feet of snow. Can you imagine opening your door and just being blocked in by snow? So they set a 2-day snowfall record, picking up over 36 inches. And yesterday we had snow as far south as Alabama. So these birds looking like they don't seem to mind the snow too much. But here for the day today, we have that cold air that's sticking around the southeast. We've got another clipper system in the forecast for the Great Lakes and extreme heat out west. Terrance, we were just talking. It looks like you're going to be in the 80s here this week in Denver.
Yes, I am so looking forward to it. I thought that I was going to be in the safe, and I put away all my winter clothes I put away all my summer and spring clothes, and now I'm pulling all that stuff back out. Happily, though, to do so because I like the temperatures. All right, thanks so much, Tracy. We'll check back with you next hour and get our hometown forecast.
See you then.
All right. Coming up, a major escalation as Israel says it has taken out more top Iranian leaders in a precision strike. Now Tehran is threatening payback. We'll have analysis ahead.
I don't hate nobody, I just won't kneel. I don't chase headlines, I live what's real. I raise my kids to think and pray.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting
to know the cause before they say,
This is the Temple Bar. This is where I was. This is Dublin, Ireland. It's not the Temple Mount, by the way, just to be clear. It's the Temple Bar. And Gina, it's not downtown Nashville. Though it could, I guess, look like it to a degree. Anyhow, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. By the way, we're about to give you some news regarding it not being a very happy St. Patrick's Day for the number 2 guy in Iran. Welcome back. Israel says it has killed him, one of Iran's most powerful figures, in a precision strike. Ali Larijani, a key security leader and close advisor to the regime who clearly didn't do a good job on security, reportedly killed, along with a top parliamentary commander. The strike marks one of the most significant hits to Iran's leadership since the start of the war. Iran hasn't confirmed the deaths, but don't worry, that's coming. It's already vowing retaliation for something that it hasn't confirmed. Try to make sense of that. Let's now bring in Senior Research Fellow for the Heritage Foundation, Brent Sadler. Brent, I tell you what, listen, say what you want about Israel. Okay, we can have that discussion. Don't mess with the IDF. They ain't playing around, and neither is the United States military. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, tell us more. Tell us what you make of this killing this morning.
Well, I mean, clearly the operations are shifting into a new phase. You know, we've moved on from going after the nuclear enterprise, weapons enterprise there. Their long-range missiles and drones attacks are dropping off in a logarithmic scale. But now the focus is how to actually take out the leadership and the muscle on the streets. So hopefully the Iranian people can seize the opportunity to take back the country. A historic opportunity, the first time in 47 years of this terrorist state that's been running the country in Iran. So the 2 people that were killed, there's another one, General Soleimani is the head of the Basij. These are the thugs that run the streets. And of course, Larijani was the senior, like the NSC leader to the supreme leader. These are the folks that executed the orders to crack down on the protesters, killing well over 32,000 Iranians back in January. So justice is coming, and hopefully the Iranians are able to turn the page on a better future here in the very near future.
So what is your prediction? Will the Iranians actually be able to turn the page, or will another, once you cut off the head of one snake, another one kind of emerges? Do you see that happening, or will the Iranian people really be able to take control of their own future and turn the page, as you said?
Well, I think we have to be careful about trying to put our hand too firmly on the tiller here and try to rudder steer this country and these people. It's really for the Iranian people to determine what the future is. But what's most important, and certainly the best way to avoid a forever war here, is 2 things that matter and what comes next in Tehran. One, a government that doesn't threaten and can live peacefully with its neighbors, to include Israel, but also, most importantly, doesn't threaten Americans nor American interest. Meet those 2 things, I think we can live happily with whatever comes next in Iran.
Also, President Trump is urging U.S. allies to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz after Iran effectively closed the key oil shipping route. Here's what Trump said.
Numerous countries have told me they're on the way. Some are very enthusiastic about it, and some aren't. Some are countries that we've helped for many, many years. We've protected them from horrible outside sources, and they weren't that enthusiastic. And the level of enthusiasm, it matters to me. We have some countries where we have 45,000 soldiers, great soldiers, protecting them from harm's way. And we have done a great job. And when we want to know, do you have any minesweepers? Well, would rather not get involved, sir. I said, for 40 years we're protecting you, and you don't want to get involved in something that is very minor. Very few shots going to be taken because they don't have many shots left.
How effective of leverage is this sort of weaponization of their proximity to the strait?
I think it all boils down to national interest. The European countries do rely on oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz and the Red Sea. That's one of the reasons why the French last week are sending a fairly sizable flotilla, about 10 ships, to include their nuclear aircraft carrier, into the region. And while they may publicly say they're not going to join into any American efforts, their presence is certainly additive and will have an impact, a positive one. The same thing can be said about the Japanese and the South Koreans. They actually have a lot more at stake because a higher proportion of their energy, upwards of 90% for the Japanese and well over 40% for South Korea, comes from the Gulf. And so I could see a positive development where both those countries start sending forces to ensure that safe passage. It's not really opening the straits. It's never really been fully or effectively closed by the Iranians, though what's a trickle today may start to become a tidal wave of shipping going through the straits when confidence actually restores. But when it comes to the Japanese, they do not want to repeat the 1991 Gulf War I embarrassment where they were asked, and by the time they figured it out, it was well over and the fighting was done and the mines were already swept.
Yeah. Hey, Brent, 20 seconds or so. It's prediction time. What do you think? Do you think this war will be done in April, May, or longer? Those are the three
I think
choices.
the predictions on the military front are accurate, about 4 to 6 weeks from the beginning. That would end it in April. But the political end of it, this is really up to the Iranian people, and there has to be a hesitancy and there has to be a suspension of expectations from D.C. to let the Iranians sort out their politics and their governance. That'll probably take longer. It took a year for the regime to change in 79, not for the better, but this hopefully doesn't take that long.
Brent Sadler, great to have you. Great insight. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
All right, coming up, RFK Jr.'s health team was considering a major shakeup of COVID shot recommendations. However, that plan may be hitting a roadblock. The federal vaccine panel set to meet soon, and the future of COVID shot guidance could still be on the line. What should Americans expect, especially parents of young children? We break it down next on American Sunrise.
America, it's time to make some noise. Scan the QR code right now and download the new song, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Or search for it on iTunes and download it today. In a world filled with chaos and uncertainty, this song is a reminder of something stronger, America's grit, faith, and fortitude. From the label that brought you The Boss, Anthem of the Free, and Somali Waltz, comes the next anthem, God, Grit, and Guns by the Truth Bombers. Scan the QR code and download it now.
It's God, grit, and guns. God, grit, and guns. God, grit, and guns.
To our enemies, FAFO.
God, grit, and guns.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
You can take the flag from the screen.
Okay, no disrespect to my friends in New York, but I really wanted that cool Dublin shot, that street shot. I didn't get it. I guess that's just too bad. I can, as my mom used to say, can wish in one hand and wish in the other. No, that's not what she said. All right, welcome back to American Sunrise. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm Dr. Gina. We have no green beer on this set. I just want to make sure that that's very clear. There is no green beer on this set. Just a very green sweater and some very green earrings. You guys, we are glad you're with us today. It is time for today's health news that is sponsored by the Wellness Company. And under the microscope today, a key federal panel that advises the CDC on vaccines has dropped a plan to question the mRNA COVID shots. According to a report from the Washington Post, some advisors under Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr., of course, had been considering whether to stop recommending those shots. But sources say that effort no longer moving forward. The advisory committee expected to meet soon to discuss which vaccines Americans should receive and when. Let's now bring in the chief of pediatric medicine for the Wellness Company, Dr. Alejandro Diaz. Dr. Diaz, here's my thought. How about we just don't mandate? How about they make recommendations and they just don't mandate any vaccines?
Hi, Dr. Gina. Thank you so much for having me back. You're absolutely right. You know, I'm an immunologist. As you know, I'm a pediatrician. I see thousands and thousands and thousands of patients. You know, I never recommend any vaccines. I have to be clear about this. And let me be clear about something that it's very interesting. Since the beginning of the COVID operation, you know, I was against how it was managed. And obviously I said, do not take any of those toxic injectable products of experimentation because those are not vaccines. They were using a technology, especially the mRNA technology that has, you know, it wasn't used before in humans. So how can you inject almost 5.5 billion people around the globe with these toxic injectable products? So they have to be pulled out of the market.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And now they're putting mRNA in all of your animal vaccines as well. So be prepared for that one, America. Why is it important for our healthcare bureaucracies to stop recommending the mRNA vaccines? Just explain a little bit about what makes them unique.
Well, the truth of the matter is that they were never safe nor effective. So why are you going to introduce into the market, into the American people, products that they're toxic? They have been, we already know as a scientific fact that those products who are not vaccines, they have been creating a lot of harm, from cardiac problems, from pericarditis, myocarditis, circulation problems, clotting problems, cancer, and so many other diseases. So why they want to still push those products into the American people? They have to be pulled out of the market immediately.
Yeah, well, it killed my dad, so I'm not going to be forgetting about this anytime soon. We continue to hear about the impacts of long COVID and the long-term impacts of mRNA vaccines. For individuals who are worried about this, what can they do?
Well, one of the things that we have seen, and the amazing team of doctors and my colleagues at the Wellness Company, specifically Dr. Peter McCullough, who is one of the most recognized cardiologists in the history of medicine, and he was able to compound this amazing ultimate spike detox, because one of the main questions that I receive from my patients and parents and people is, how can I get rid and how can I get off the spike proteins out of my body? And the ultimate spike detox, who has amazing, wonderful, and natural products like nattokinase, turmeric, bromelain, black seed, black fruit, and selenium, so many other things, dandelion root, and so many other products. They definitely can metabolize and can detox that harmful spike protein that has been causing all these diseases.
Last week, we talked about the impact the war in Iran could have on the prescription drug supply chain. This week, I want to ask you more broadly about the risks of retaliation by pro-Iranian forces here in the U.S. and abroad. We've seen some violence. And I think I don't think this question is supposed to actually be in my prompter as I'm reading it. But talk to people about that level of stress that this war is causing in their just in how it affects their health for families at home.
Well, one of the main concerns from the medical standpoint is that most of the raw materials come from China or India, the vast majority to compound our medications here in the United States. So, because of the conflict in the Middle East, definitely that will impact at some point the availability of many or certain medications here. So, it's important to be prepared. One of those important actions to be prepared is to get your important stockpile of medications, specifically in the middle of a huge conflict, world conflict.
Yeah, that's where this question was going, was to preparation for dirty bombs, things like that. That's where the question was going.
Well, if you're talking about bioweapons.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very tough question. And fortunately enough for everybody to know, there was this biological weapon convention back in 1972, I believe. And a little bit of over 195 countries signed that treaty, including Iran. Unfortunately, that treaty was signed in 1972. The regime that it's in place right now, they started in power in 1979. So I really hope that they will respect those treaties, because when you talk about biological warfare, that's a different animal. That's a completely different story. So I really hope that we don't get into that kind of deals.
Yeah, I hope not too. Let's talk more about that when we have you back next time. Dr. Alejandro Diaz, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gina.
All right. The Trump administration has brought a lot of positive changes when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system, but there's only so much the government can do. And if we really want to make America healthy again, it's going to start at home with each of us. And that is where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear from their doctors all the time. You know their products are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. The Wellness Company keeps you prepared for whatever happens with their prescription medical kits. These kits have an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist in the use of the meds in the kits. Additionally, the Wellness Company offers a variety of products: parasite cleanses, methylene blue, weight loss, so much more. All these can help you stay healthy and live a longer, more satisfying life. Make America healthy again starts at home. Do your part, protect the health of yourself and your family. Go to twc.health/RAV today. Give it an order. That's twc.health/RAV. Use the promo code RAV. That'll save you 10%. D-Bro. Oh, we're not going to D-Bro. We're just gonna go right on with the show. There's a song about that. Coming up, a stunning new poll shows Israel's standing plummeting among young Americans. What's happening here? Just a small share of voters under 35 now view the Jewish state in a positive light, while negative views are surging. What is driving this dramatic shift? We're going to break it down next here on American Sunrise.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
when it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. It's now time to stay awake, not woke. And today, we are looking at how different age groups view Israel. According to a new NBC News poll, just 13% of voters aged 18 to 34 have a positive view of Israel. 23% say they are neutral, while 63% say they view the Jewish state negatively. Among voters 35 to 49, 20% have a positive view, 38% are neutral, and 43% have a negative view. The poll also shows positive views of the country have declined in recent years, especially among younger voters. Let's bring in Dr. Gina and David to further discuss this. I would imagine, David and Gina, that social media plays a pretty significant role in all of this in terms of the narrative that many young people are privy to or many young people tend to forward towards. But David, I'd like to get your perspective on all of this.
Well, I think you're right. Social media is a big problem, and I say a problem because you never know what you're going to see and read on social media, and you don't have the proper context. So you have to go to God's word. And then, of course, when you go to God's word, everybody's got a different interpretation of what God's word is. So you've got that part of it, too. So you've got a double layer issue here. But the truth of the matter is that if you look at Scripture consistently, and I'm not a theologian, obviously, but if you look at Scripture consistently, it does talk about that this idea of replacement theology is not true. It's just simply not true. I'm going to be kind by just saying not true. I can say a few other words, but I won't because I'm trying to take the high road here. So it's just not, it's not true at all. Now, having said that, I think the issue here with younger people is that they are listening to a lot of this and they're not getting the proper biblical nourishment, if you will, Dr. G.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say it's their generation that would have to fight in a war. And so they have a much more vested interest. Perhaps it feels more personal to them. I also think, you know, Gen Z in particular really turned out in the last election like they never had in history. I always said on every show, young people don't vote, quit courting the young vote. And then guess what? They turned out for President Trump. So I think they feel a bit of ownership in what happens in our geopolitical scene. Now, it's interesting that at least thus far, it hasn't done a lot to affect Donald Trump's numbers, but it has done a lot to affect Israel's numbers. That's really interesting. I think the biblical discussion is a scarier and deeper one in terms of just pretending to know, because there are some of the most brilliant theologians out there. I've been listening to them every single day. In fact, I fall asleep every single night listening to the arguments back and forth on replacement theory, which was just newly named, I guess, replacement theory. That's not actually the doctrinal word for it, but that's what we commonly call it. So I think it's fine. And I'll say, wow, some of these people are really smart, and they go very deep, and they go into the history and the not just of the world, but also of how the Bible text was written and what could have been changed versus what a copyrighted Bible is. I mean, here's the good thing. A lot of people like me are going deeper into their Bibles than they ever have, and realizing there are really smart people on both sides of this issue. You know what that tells me every single time? This is between he and I. This is something that we have to take straight to the Holy Spirit, pray for wisdom and clarity, pray for Holy Spirit, total saturation of the Holy Spirit in our fiber to even possibly address any of this. And I certainly will never be an authority on it.
It's such a layered conversation. Go ahead, David.
I agree with that. And we obviously have to have a lot more time to discuss this. But the issue with replacement theology is what folks in replacement theology are saying is that God is done with the Jews. That's what they're saying. And when you start to say God is done with the Jews, that goes into dangerous territory because, first of all, it's not scriptural at all. But beyond all of that, if you start to believe that God is done with the Jews, well, what's the extension of that? Oh, the Jews are committing genocide in Gaza. Oh, the Jews are running the world. Oh, the Jews are X, Y, and Z. And you go down a path that becomes not just anti-Israel, but anti-Semitic. And that's the problem with replacement theology, because, first of all, it's not true. It's not scriptural. If anybody's looking at me and hearing me now, it's not true. But beyond all of that, you start to think negatively of the Jews. The Jews are the Christ killers. The Jews. I can go on and on. And so
David, I haven't heard anyone take those lines. I don't think that there's an automatic.
They're all out there on social media. They're everywhere.
I don't think that there's an automatic if-then. I've heard most people say no one should be discriminated against based on their bloodline, and I think that's absolutely true. And you know what? Human interpretation of the Bible, it doesn't matter what we think are the human consequences. It matters what God actually said. And I think that's where most people are trying to get to. And I really hope that no one would ever take it to that crazy extreme. I mean, that's why the conversation is so important. We definitely can't make biblical doctrinal decisions based on what we think in our human mind might happen, because that's what we wanted God to say, because we wanted it to go a certain way. But we also have to remember that God clearly loves humans. I mean, that's why he made us. That's why he created us. His love is in us. And we have to, I think, rest a little bit in that and maybe talk more about that than worrying about what this theology says or what that theology says. Again, it's a personal relationship, Terrance.
I agree. I agree, but just remember the link. That's all I'm saying. Be cognizant of the link. Please be aware of it.
Maybe
that's
there's
all
not
I'm saying.
A link.
There is. I believe there is.
Contextual understanding of the Bible is important. I think we're going to Vice President Vance. He's speaking really quickly, guys. Let's listen in. Sorry.
Come on in to the conversation.
Right. Go ahead.
In Ireland, and that's one of the things that we celebrate here this morning. And I have this just long list of all the investments that Ireland is making in the United States of America, all the things that we're doing in the country of Ireland. Of course, about 375,000 American jobs depend on the country of Ireland in one form or another. So just an important trading and economic partner. But I actually think that understates the cultural friendship between the United States and Ireland. So many of the greatest Americans were people who came from Ireland, or their families came from Ireland. In the Republican Party, of course, we revere Ronald Reagan, a great Irishman and a great president of the United States. My own friend, Colin Tiernan, my Marine Corps buddy, who I shouted out last year at this lunch, is another great Irish American, is always very proud of it, and is one of the people that I just constantly, I think all of us in America, most of us at least, have somebody who has this deep connection to that island on the other side of the Atlantic, and we love it, and we admire it, and we cherish the incredible friendships that we have and the great things that Ireland has done for the United States of America. So I want to give a few more shout-outs here. We have our wonderful ambassador to Ireland, Ed Walsh, who the Taoiseach tells me is doing a great job. Ed, thank you so much for being here. Few of my friends from the Senate, but I think we were supposed to have Kevin Hearn here, but unfortunately his alarm clock didn't go off, so we don't have Kevin. We do have the great great senator from Alaska, Dan Sullivan, who I'll call up here in a second. Dan, thank you for your friendship. We have Dave McCormick here from the great state of Pennsylvania. I think the first time you've done this breakfast, or were you here last year?
First time.
Okay, sounds good. We have Mark Wayne Mullen, who is in for a new job, potentially, depending on how his fellow senators feel about it. We have Patrick Collison, one of the great entrepreneurs in the United States today, a very great guy, and of course a proud Irish American. So glad to have you at this breakfast, Patrick, and give our best to your brother. And here's let me just say one other thing. We have a little gift bag for everybody who's at this breakfast. I think it'll have a pint glass. Of course, this is St. Patrick's Day, but it'll also have a pair of Donegal-style wool socks, and this is actually inspired by my friend Colin. I'm going to shout out here. So last year when we did this breakfast, Colin said you have to wear socks that honor the Taoiseach, and so I wore some Shamrock socks. I have a different pair of Shamrock socks here today. Now, I did that knowing that when we met the president later with the Taoiseach in the Oval Office, I'd be sitting down, he'd see my socks, and he would bust my chops about the fact that I was not wearing boring black socks, but I had these bright white Shamrock socks. So we have a slightly more muted Shamrock, but we're going to see if the president notices in the Oval Office when we go and visit him in a couple of hours. But let me just say we are thrilled to have you. Very, very grateful for your friendship and very, very grateful for everything that unites the people of Ireland with the United States of America. So God bless you. Taoiseach Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President and Madam Second Lady and honoured guests. I want to thank you most sincerely for welcoming Mary and me into your home again this St. Patrick's Day. My guess is that the President will look and say, where are your socks? But I think last year we were deeply touched by the warmth of your welcome and generosity of your hospitality. And as I said, we adored your Shamrock socks. But that welcome was then and is again today a very special start to what for us is an unforgettable day. And as we gather to celebrate St. Patrick's Day 2026, we also look ahead to July the 4th, when this great nation will mark the 250th anniversary of your independence. Just 1 mile from where we sit this morning is Robert Emmet Memorial Park, named in honour of the Irish patriot who led a rebellion against the British in 1803. And in a famous speech from the dock before he was put to death, he declared, "I wish to procure for my country the guarantee which Washington procured for America." The ideas of liberty, democracy and opportunity enshrined in your Declaration of Independence fired the imaginations of Ireland's determined patriots. And our Proclamation of Independence of 1916 references just one other country, yours, when it speaks of support to our cause from Ireland's exiled children in America.
Vice President J.D. Vance hosting our brothers from across the pond in Ireland as we celebrate St. Patrick's Day today. We, of course, will have more on this throughout the hour. But now let's get you ready for the second hour of American Sunrise.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
we have breaking news to share with you.
Politics.
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrance.
And I'm Dr. Gina.
Welcome back to the second hour of American Sunrise, everybody. I'm David Brody coming to you from D.C. Let's bring in Dr. G in West Palm and T. Bates in our Denver newsroom. Good morning to both of you. Thanks a lot, J.D. Vance, for interrupting our conversation. No, we'll move on. But Dr. G, let me just say, you win the St. Patrick's Day Wardrobe Award, I just want to say.
There's something really interesting about St. Patrick's Day that I learned this year. I'm not 100% this is 100% true, but it sounds very plausible. I want to know if either of you know about it. You know how you always think the four-leaf clover is lucky? You've always heard that. Like, go find a four-leaf clover. That's like, I heard that's actually pagan, and it was the pagan effort to take away from the three-leaf clover, which symbolizes the Holy Trinity.
The cross.
I'm not steeped in my St. Patrick's trivia.
I could see it.
I did not know that.
I don't know completely if it's true. I tried asking different AI programs and got kind of a mixed answer. So, but it sounds very plausible. So, you know what I do know? Someone in our chat will know. They will know.
That is for dang sure.
That's for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So we'll be waiting to hear from them. Yeah.
So look, we just heard from Vice President J.D. Vance. He's got a full plate as he is now overseeing a new task force that's going after fraudsters who take taxpayer money. On Monday, order appointing the vice president as chairman of a new fraud task force. The White House points to social services scams in Minnesota that have already led to dozens of indictments and cost taxpayers billions of dollars. The president also saying there's a strong reason to believe that similar vulnerabilities exist in California, Illinois, New York, Maine, and Colorado. The commander-in-chief making headlines on the entertainment front as well, as the Trump Kennedy Center board officially voted on Monday to close operations at the facility for 2 years in order to renovate it. Former president of the board, Rick Grinnell, also stepped down on Monday, and Matt Flocka, who is the vice president of facilities and operations, is now the CEO and executive director of that center. Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. changes to childhood vaccine schedule are on hold this morning after a federal judge ruled that they likely violated federal procedures. Back in January, Kennedy ordered an end to broad recommendations for all children to be inoculated against things like flu, rotavirus, meningitis, and RSV, among other sicknesses. The medical community, especially the American Academy of Pediatrics, revolted, though, leading to lawsuits asking judges to stop Kennedy from scaling back the nation's childhood vaccine schedule. That's a quick check of your headlines. We'll, of course, have more headlines coming your way in just a little bit. But now, let's get a quick check of your forecast with Weather Nation meteorologist Tracy Anthony. She's also got your hometown forecast. TT, good morning.
Good morning, Terrance. We are starting off in New York. Now, I know I'm the worst at pronouncing some of these city names, but Batavia? I'm not quite sure, Dr. Jamie. You're going to have to help me there on the pronunciation, but 22 degrees today. You still have some snow from that last system that rolled on through. Wind chills still going to be pretty brutal throughout the overnight, but at least we're going to be warming up close to 50 degrees by this weekend. So some nicer weather for you in the forecast, but still kind of a gloomy mix, even with those warmer temperatures for the weekend. Want to take you out to Kansas next. This is Hutchinson, Kansas. 63 degrees is coming in from Richard Kramer on Getter. We also had another request for a Kansas or a Missouri City, Kansas City, from Elizabeth MN. So I saw you as well. But Kansas, it's really going to be kind of the same forecast across the board. We're warming up close to 90 degrees then by the weekend. So very dry, very warm. Get out there and enjoy it. And Terrance, we were talking about how you're going to feel temperatures in the 80s here this week. And actually, you could be setting an all-time March record. So in Denver, the warmest temperature on record is 84 degrees. And Denver, you're expected to get to 88 by Saturday. So you're going to be basking in that heat, Terrance.
Slow clap for you. Yes. I am loving it. That's right up my alley. Yes. I can't wait. And pulling out my flip-flops and my shorts. Oh, I'm going to be chill. I might come to work in flip-flops and shorts. In fact, there's nobody around this week. I might come to work in flip-flops and shorts. We'll see. Thanks, Tracy.
Yeah.
All right, she's laughing at me. She's like, please don't. All right, let's get you over to David Brody. David, what do you think? 88 degrees. I think it's acceptable to come to work in flip-flops and shorts if it's 88 degrees.
I think it is acceptable. I also think what's acceptable is for you to no longer sit down during this if you were in flip-flops and shorts, and you should stand up, and we should go for the whole full shot of you the whole time.
There you go. There you go. You know, I've got nice calves. At least that's what my wife tells me. So, you know, show them off a little bit.
And that's the quote of the show, everybody. I've got nice calves. Thank you for that. Hashtag TMI. All right, let's move on. How am I going to transition to this? I got to talk about the war in Iran. All right, combat operations in Iran are pressing forward, with Israeli Defense Forces reporting on the killing of Iran's Supreme National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani. I can say it. He can't. He's dead. President Trump recently spoke on recent operations in Iran ahead of a luncheon at the Kennedy Center. Just to be clear, he wasn't in Iran. That was me ad-libbing, sorry. His remarks included comments on the bombing of Karg Island, a major hub for Iranian energy. The president went on to say that some targets were left alone in the event America may be on the hook for rebuilding Iran. Rebuilding? I'm sorry, huh? All right, let's look at this.
And as you know, we attacked Karg Island and knocked it literally, destroyed everything on the island except for the area where the oil is. I call it the pipes. We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but we will do that. We can do that on 5 minutes notice. It'll be over. But for purposes of someday rebuilding that country, I guess we did the right thing.
All right, joining us now with reaction is Texas State Representative and congressional candidate Steve Toth. Steve, thanks for being here. Okay, so can I get a timeout on the field? He said the word rebuilding, talking about Iran. That makes me think money. That makes me think longer time frame in Iran. I have a concern about the word rebuilding. Do you? Good morning.
I think anybody, good morning, guys. I think any of us that have concerns about the well-being of the United States financially and the idea of us getting into rebuilding Iran should be concerned about that. But we're talking about President Trump here, and what he is uniquely different than his predecessors is that he will use the resources of Iran, their finances, their oil to do the rebuilding.
All right. Steve, good to see you. First of all, congratulations on your primary victory. You, of course, unseated longtime Congressman Dan Crenshaw there in Texas. Congrats again. You and I have known each other for a couple of years now. Crenshaw recently blamed his loss, though, on what he calls widespread misinformation. Here's exactly what he had to say during an interview with Face the Nation over the weekend, and then I'll get your response on the other side.
You know, I've been the target of online smears and conspiracies for a very long time. My election was basically a product of that. You know, first of all, you have about 20% of Republican voters bothering to even vote at a primary. And then you have dozens of online smears and conspiracies that people were going into the voting booth actually believing.
Steve, you have the floor, sir.
What's new? I mean, typically that's what you get, about 20% of people turn out in the primary to vote. Nothing new there. People were saying things that weren't true about me. This is politics. And it goes back to Truman saying, if you want a friend in Washington, get a dog. I mean, here's the reality is that people say untrue things about us every single day. The question is, does it stick to you or doesn't it stick to you? And when you're thin-skinned and you tear people up, when they ask you a question, they're going to assume that it's real and it's truthful. And he just has this very bad demeanor about him that if you ask him about anything, he rips your head off. I mean, it's just who the guy is. He's just not likable. I've got letters from all over the United States of people that have written me and sent us little $10 and $5 checks, $2 and $50 checks for my campaign that have Dan Crenshaw stories. Yeah. These are people that didn't see any of the campaigning material that we had here in Congressional District 2, but they have their own personal story about Dan, and it's his own fault.
Yeah, it's, you know, maybe he should have started by just not siding with rhinos all the time. Then the conspiracy theories might not have proliferated the way they did. Representative, we want to address a concerning and growing trend in the Lone Star State. We're hearing that Democrat Senate primary in Texas saw the highest number of people voting in it than any other primary for a statewide office in your state's history. Are you concerned that Texas may no longer be a deep red state in the future? I mean, let's spell this out. Dozens of new mosques over the last couple of years. We have more than 300 and some, you probably know the exact number, of mosques there now. I'm starting to hear, and I hope I don't hear this from you, a straddling on the issues for votes from Muslims. I'm starting to hear a straddling of the issues by politicians that I thought were conservative because they know the Muslim numbers are growing in their own districts and they don't want to lose their votes. But let's talk about what this is going to mean for Texas. We don't have to look very far to see what it's done in other states.
This was an issue that Dan struggled with. This was an issue of Dan thinks that Republicans are hypersensitive and that there's some conspiracy against Muslims. Dan doesn't get the Muslim takeover in Western Europe. Dan doesn't get the Muslim takeover in Northern Africa. Dan doesn't get how they're infecting even in Minnesota. Dan doesn't get the fact that Islam is not compatible with the United States and our Western style democracy or a constitutional republic, let alone. This has been a problem that he has struggled with, and it was the main issue, I think, in our campaign, in that Dan worked with the Democrats to bring more people from Afghanistan into the United States. Look, if you sided with us in the Afghan war and you helped our soldiers, good on you. We will get you out of Afghanistan, but we're not going to bring you to the United States. So there are a lot of airlifts that occurred after the Afghan war, but those people were not brought to the United States. They were left in the UAE. They were left in Arab countries. They were left in Muslim nations, but they weren't brought to the United States. Dan, for some reason, wanted thousands and thousands of unvetted people to be brought to the United States, and it's not acceptable. He just does not get it.
Steve, Paxton versus Cornyn. Talk to us about where you're at on that. And regarding President Trump, I mean, there's principle and there's politics. I get both that are at play, but the logical principle play for President Trump is to endorse Paxton. He has not. Your take?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think John Cornyn basically has a gun to the president's head and basically to the United States and have said, great, go ahead, endorse Ken Paxton, and I will be your worst nightmare between now and January.
I missed the first part of that. I'm sorry. Could you repeat? Who has a gun to whose head? I'm sorry. I heard something in my ear. I did not hear it.
I think John. Yeah, I apologize. I think John Cornyn is holding the president hostage, is holding the United States hostage and saying, go ahead and endorse Ken, endorse your friend, endorse this person who's been loyal to you, endorse this person who is a servant leader, and I will be your worst nightmare between now and January of next year.
So do you want to jump in the hot water and make an endorsement in that Senate race? I realize you're running a race of your own, but I've got to ask, do you have an endorsement?
Sounds to me like he just did.
I did. Yeah, I actually did it.
I can barely hear you. I'm sorry. So go ahead. I'm listening.
I apologize.
No.
Clarence, I still have this imagery of you in shorts, or thank God it's not a Speedo. But anyways, yeah, I actually did that. I endorsed him last week.
Okay, I did not see that. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I could barely hear you. Maybe it's my earpiece, but I could barely hear you. But Steve Toth, always good to see you, sir.
God bless you, brother.
God bless you.
Thank you, Steve. The only thing I can remember out of this interview is that Terrance was in a Speedo. Got it. Okay, thank you. Oh my gosh, that's pretty sad. That's literally the only thing I can remember from this interview. Don't take that the wrong way, Steve. That's an issue with me. I appreciate it.
Exactly. Thanks, Steve. Thanks so much. Coming up, a Minnesota hearing raising new questions. Oh, I'm sorry, David. That's supposed to be your read. Okay, this is just complete. I'm going to put myself in timeout.
Excuse me. The beauty of this show is we break the fourth wall all the time. And we are now breaking the fourth wall to say, hey, it's your read. No, it's my read. Hey, see, everybody, you're getting a clue into how TV works, and here we are. You want to read it together? Let's do it together. Ready? Coming up. Okay.
A Minnesota hearing raising new questions. No? Okay, well, about election security, and it's fueling a new push for the Save America Act in the Senate. We'll break it all down after the break, and I'm going to put myself in timeout so I don't take other people's reads. We're going to get it together after the break, folks.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the Rav Hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Emily Finn. Time now to drain the swamp, and this morning we are flushing out illegal voting. During a hearing in Minnesota, state lawmakers pressed election officials about whether non-citizens could potentially cast ballots. Republican State Representative Patty Anderson questioned whether some individuals could register and vote using a driver's license, even if their Social Security information doesn't match. Minnesota's Director of Elections struggled to give a straight answer. Take a look at this.
For anyone that's presenting documentation to register to vote, that is affirmation of their identity. The driver's license has not been used as proof of citizenship for the purposes of registering to vote. It's affirming that they are who they say they are. So in any of these cases where someone were to cast a ballot if they were ineligible to vote, there are also reports that are generated post-election for voters that are challenged that counties will run to show status of voters that had been updated due to the fact that they've now cast a ballot that can be reviewed and referred to the county attorney.
Okay, so the answer is yes to my question.
We want to know what you think. Let us know on Rumble or Getter. Hop on and let your voice be heard. Coming up, the Trump administration is taking aim at what it calls misleading media coverage of the war with Iran. Could media licenses be on the line? We'll talk about it after the break. Stick around.
I raise my kids to think and pray to know the cause.
If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you.
I don't hate nobody, I just won't kneel. I don't chase headlines, I live what's real. I raise my kids to think and pray to know the cause before they say, I don't scare easy, I don't scare fast. It's God, grit, and guns, no fear in my chest.
Because of you, Real America's Music just released the brand new single, God, Grit, and Guns, and it's already climbing the charts. Now let's take it a step further. Go download the song right now, and you'll automatically be entered to win a special prize. If God, Grit, and Guns hits #1 on Billboard, one random downloader will receive the plaque, a real piece of music history. So what are you waiting for? Scan the QR code or search God, Grit, and Guns on iTunes and download it today. Let's run it up the charts.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
Here we go, all of us.
Wow, that's good.
I'm fueled up now.
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel. Film yourself cracking one open and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV Hosts drink. Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
RAV has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with RAV. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are RAV.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
Welcome back. We're getting ready for the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It's set to ring here in just a few minutes. Pre-market trading looking pretty good. Here's a quick look at our board. As you can see, green from top to bottom, like my commute into work at 4:30 in the morning. Green lights all the way through. Hopefully it stays that way for the rest of this day. We'll take you to New York again for the opening bell here in just a little bit. First, though, let's get you out to D.C. David Brody, good morning.
Good morning, T. Bates. All right, the Trump administration is taking aim at what it calls misleading media coverage of the war with Iran. President Trump is blasting several major outlets for reporting that Iranian strikes damaged U.S. Air Force tanker planes in Saudi Arabia, saying that those reports were exaggerated, they're misleading, and that most of the aircraft are actually already back in service. So now Brendan Carr, chair of the FCC, is warning broadcasters that networks pushing what he calls, quote, hoaxes and news distortions could face scrutiny when their licenses come up for renewal. Well, joining us now with analysis is the host of America's Voice Live and the Steve Gruber Show, and that would be Steve Gruber. Steve, what do you make of what Brendan Carr is saying here? It seems a little heavy-handed, but then again, I don't know. So, what do I know? I'm just an anchor with makeup. What about you?
Nice makeup, by the way. The eyeliner is killer.
I appreciate it.
Look,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Look, here's the deal. I appreciate the fact that, if you had CNN on the beaches of Normandy, we would have been losing that race up the hills in France. Look, instant news is more interested in being first than being right. That's been true for a long time, David. You know that. You've been in this game long enough. The concerns, though, are real. If you go down this road too far, too aggressively, then the next time there's a Democrat administration, which is inevitable in the cycle of things, unless the world really gets right and we reject Democrats across the board, then at some point they're going to come back. And I'll use COVID as an example. Look, you can't say this. This is fake news. This is misinformation. This is, a conspiracy theory. Then the rebound, the boomerang effect on those of us out here trying to tell the truth, trying to sort out the news every day and give you the best analysis, well, then we become targeted because we're not carrying the water for somebody else. Now, having said that, if they're recklessly reporting the truth, or what the BBC did to Donald Trump, which is take a clip from the beginning of an interview and then marry it to a clip 50 minutes later in an interview, that's dishonest. And so I see the concerns from Brendan Carr. I see what he's trying to correct, but be careful, because you open the door to people restricting our rights. And look, we saw enough of the cancellation and the cancel culture and the editing and the removal of people from social media because our views didn't line up. But now we've been exonerated almost completely about COVID, about election interference. I don't know if you guys saw John Solomon's new column today. China making its way into our voter databases. Oh, that's not true. That doesn't... Of course it's true, and of course it happened. And John Solomon, Just the News, one of our colleagues here on Real America's Voice, has got the goods today. You should go read that article. My only concern is to proceed with caution. Don't go in too aggressively, David. I agree the point, but it opens a door that we might not want completely open, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Let me move to the war in Iran. I don't know if you carry a crystal ball around with you. I can't confirm or deny that. Maybe you can clear it up. But I'm curious about a prediction here with the war. Is this over in April, May? I'm talking over in terms of combat operations. April, May, or longer? Those three choices, which one are you taking this morning, Steve?
I don't have a crystal ball. I usually use the magic 8-ball. For my answers on such things, just so we're clear. Here's the truth. We don't know. Any prediction when the war is over is a fool's errand, in my estimation. Look, to me, I'm going to use this analogy again. It's like when you move. We've all moved. And moving the big things, that's easy. The bed goes, the couch goes, the refrigerator goes. You think, man, I've really made a lot of progress. And then you open the drawer and another drawer, and there's a lot of details. The same is true in a war. It's the details. I know another one of the Iranian leaders of the IRGC was killed overnight, as were a number of other folks. But as long as Iran can, volley a few drones or a couple missiles here and there, I don't know how long that persists, because that will require the United States to identify the launch area, the launch machinery, try to figure out where these drones are being built. The detail work always takes a lot longer than the big work, right? And that's true whether you're moving or if you're fighting a war. So I don't have any estimate. I think it will take longer than a month. It could take longer than 2 months. But I just saw reporting on CNN. Nobody seems to care. People that have a great interest in this war is less than half in America. It has not impacted Donald Trump's popularity in this country. People say, well, they're all turning against Donald Trump. Not true. Even CNN's numbers show that's simply not the fact. Most Americans actually, however, are concerned about other things, like their job today, where their kids are going, how much it's going to cost to send them to college, how much it's going to cost for groceries this week, which is being impacted. Gas went up another 8 cents overnight. I think this is speculation, manipulation, and greed. I say this prediction again. The oil companies will post record profits this year, record profits this quarter, I should say. Because, look, when gas is $4 a gallon, which it is here now, I don't know where it is where you live, David, but it's over $4 a gallon now, they're making big money. Let's not kid ourselves. They're adding a lot of money to their bottom line, and they're happy to do it. So the oil companies are just sitting there going, okay, keep it coming, right? So we'll see how this all plays out.
Steve, less than a minute left. Let me ask you about how this could affect the midterms in terms of the MAGA coalition and Republicans writ large. If this is going on, not just even from a military combat operation, but just the residual fallout from what happens next. And there's a lot of uncertainty. And now Trump is talking about, hey, I got to keep some infrastructure on Carg Island because we might need to rebuild. Rebuild? What? And then we got a supplemental coming soon. This feels like it's dragging towards the midterms. And how concerned? Now I got 25 seconds because I asked a 30-second question. How concerned are you?
Yeah, my answer is, of course, it's concerning because these things impact the elections. But I do not see a fracture. The left would have you believe that MAGA is leaving, the America First crowd is leaving, the independents who voted for Donald Trump are leaving. There's some squishiness in the middle, always has been in that 10%. But I do not believe that, and again, I go back to CNN polling. Donald Trump is no less popular today than he was on the 28th of February when this all started. So stay the course. Most people on the right in conservative circles think, look, we've dealt with this for 47 years. But if you're going to go in, make sure you finish it. That's the key. Don't leave it open-ended. Don't turn it into an Afghanistan or Iraq. Make sure you finish the job you started, and that will have at least a somewhat positive impact on the midterms. And look, One thing's less popular than Donald Trump right now, and that's Democrats in Congress. So there it is.
That is for sure. The great patriot, Steve Gruber. Thanks, sir. Appreciate you as always.
Thank you.
All right. Time for T. Bates. It's time for the opening bell. It's all sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
The applause is underway on Wall Street, which means the opening bell is going to ring here in short order. And then we'll get an idea of exactly how the markets are looking on this Tuesday of trading. Right on cue, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The bell is ringing. The markets are open. The first trades are being made. Here's a quick look at our board here. As you can see, looking very good, particularly on the major indices, the Dow, S&P 500, and the NASDAQ, all in the green. It looks like there's only really one blemish on the board right now. Oil is still up, which is not necessarily a great thing for oil prices and gas prices. But if you're investing in oil, then hopefully it's going to be a good day for you. Most Americans are forced to spend too much money on health care and getting too little in return. If you're one of the millions of people who's frustrated by traditional health insurance, well, we want to tell you about America's Health Share. Go to freedomforhealth.org/RAV and discover why tens of thousands of patriots are joining America's Health Share. America's Health Share reduces our health care costs by an average of 60%, and it's accepted everywhere. In other words, say goodbye to out-of-network limitations. They make healthcare affordable, transparent, and aligned with your values, free from surprise bills or skyrocketing premiums. For as low as $68 a month, an individual can get great health coverage minus the complications of price gouging from healthcare providers. You can completely scrap your current insurance, or you can use America's Health Share to supplement, your existing policy, even with Medicare. Simply go to freedomforhealth.org/RAV and learn more. Right now, new members are getting their first month free with the promo code RAV. It's time to make America healthy again. Join the community of patriots that's taking back control of their health care. That's freedomforhealth.org/RAV. Still to come here on American Sunrise, a majority of Americans say they support requiring proof of citizenship to vote. But the Save America Act is heading into a tough fight in the U.S. Senate this week. Do Republicans have the votes to get it over the finish line? We'll discuss next.
When it's breaking,
we're moving.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. News doesn't sleep. At Real America's Voice, we don't get to crash or lose focus. That's why we drink Soldier Fuel to stay ahead of the chaos, because we do this for you.
So good.
Soldier Fuel has no sugar, so no crash.
Now that's a game changer.
I'm fueled up now. Woo!
Used by the U.S. military every day. Now available to you.
This is huge.
Built by Patriots for Patriots.
Now it's time for you to do the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Order Soldier Fuel, film yourself cracking one open, and taking the Soldier Fuel Challenge. Upload your video at soldierfuel.com/challenge, and you'll be entered to win a free shipment of Soldier Fuel.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your video could also be featured on air. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to soldierfuel.com/challenge to enter. Drink with the RAV hosts drink, Soldier Fuel.
Let's go.
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of Real America's Voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order.
Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. G. Thanks for joining us this morning. We invite you to hop in our conversation on YouTube, Getter, and Rumble. It is time now to take the political pulse of America. Here's the beat today. Ahead of a key Senate showdown this week, a new poll shows strong public support for the Save America Act. This is a bill that would require proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. Now, according to a new survey, 63% of likely voters support the measure, with nearly half saying they strongly back it. The bill, backed by President Trump, has already passed the House and is now heading for a high-stakes debate in the Senate, but its path forward remains uncertain as Republicans hold 53 seats short, of course, of the 60 votes needed to overcome a filibuster from Dems, who are united in opposition. Now, a growing number of House Republicans are refusing to approve any bills until the Save America Act passes through the Senate. Yeah, we know who to thank for that, don't we? All right, joining us now with reaction is Texas Congressman Pete Sessions. Congressman, good morning. Polls showing strong public support. I just don't understand why this is still facing an uphill battle when I have to show an ID to get a fishing license.
Well, these are all good questions, but the bottom line is that we have passed this in the House. The Senate has procedures which they need to accomplish. And so what's happened is that this really has gotten bogged down also in the House, because the House has now drawn a line with several of our members who said they won't do other work until we get that done.
Right.
And I would simply like to say to my colleagues, we have a lot of work that has to be done. The Senate will be held accountable for what they do, and that effort that is going on needs to continue. I think you believe, that the most important thing that we can do is for the integrity of the election. The integrity for the election has already been called in question. As a matter of fact, so much so that our friends that are Democrats, when they were in power, tried to pass H.R. 1, which would have allowed all the things which they have been doing, I think, against the law illegally, they have been doing. And they wanted to mandate that in federal law. They could not get that done. So they are already out open of what they're for. And we do recognize that this frailty is down, that these states will simply take someone, and if they're present, they'll give them a voting card. And we believe it ought to be citizens. So it's a three-ring circus here right now. And I hope that the House will continue its work rather than saying we're going to gum up everything until the Senate does what they're supposed to do. It's a process, and we need the American people to know it is the Republican Party that's going to insist that voters have to prove themselves as citizens of this nation before they can be registered to vote.
Congressman, you said the Senate will be held accountable. What do you mean by that exactly? Because I'm thinking of people like Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and Tom Tillis. I can't imagine that voters are going to, well, first of all, Tillis is resigning, and then you've got Collins in a race. So are you talking that, or are you talking specifically that Republicans could be in danger of losing the Senate because they won't pass the Save America Act?
What I'm specifically in reference to is the procedures that would need to be employed to get them where they need to be. Tom Tillis is a United States Senator. He's simply not running for re-election. Lisa Murkowski, in my opinion, is, as well as some other people, going to run for re-election. What I'm in reference to is the Senate procedures and how they're going to work through these problems. A senator, just like a House member, does not always have to agree that every bill that comes before them that they would want to vote for or against. But when you find that this is going to be taken up by the Senate for a specific reason, I believe that they will then have to place their vote. They just don't want to vote. Now, we did this years and years ago where we had a Balanced Budget Act when President George W. Bush was president, and the senior senator from Pennsylvania would not be that last vote and voted no, to where we did not get a constitutional amendment about balancing the budget. So we've been through these, but then he had to move from being a Republican to a Democrat because Republicans would not reelect him. I don't believe that there are enough Democrats in these other states that would elect them as a senator. So it does place them in a vice grip, but until they have to vote, there is no vice nor a grip.
Congressman, just moments ago, you encouraged your colleagues to get back to work and not to refuse to pass any legislation until the Save America Act is passed, which of course leads me to the legislation that you're introducing today, the FAIR Act. Explain what's behind this act and what's motivating it.
Well, the FAIR Act and what's motivating it is the need to make sure, once again, we're dropping the bill today. That does not mean that the House will take it up. That means that we're going to talk about things that I think that are fair, and it deals with the way that we handle the FDA, the way that we handle drugs and the introduction of drugs. And what happens is today is that when a company decides through an IPO, a private offering, to raise money, generally about $1 billion, when it's dealing with biotech, it deals with mutations that they want to go and solve, mutations in your body. And these are things that many times we find are already available in other countries. Other countries do not have the same system we do. And I'm not beating our system up, but what I'm saying is many times they've been introduced somewhere else because the threshold of getting it into the market is far less. So my FAIR Act simply says we want the FDA to look at other countries and what they have done with exactly the same circumstance. We think they have a track record. We think we already have a lot of knowledge rather than starting at zero. This is important, and it comes on the piggyback of what was called Right to Try, which I was a huge supporter of several years ago when we said that people who are not involved in a trial for a mutation, generally speaking, it was cancer, that they would be allowed, even if they're not in the trial, to take place in that trial with the agreement of the manufacturer. And that meant that a person could still gain the benefit, but they were not involved in the trial if something negative occurred. But it was a best effort. Now we find that there is competition in lots of these biotech areas, and there are people who are already in trials, already in marketplaces, and we want the FDA to have to acknowledge the track record that these have rather than starting at zero. We think that's fair.
Yeah, we all know about this Dr. Soon Shong, who has said that he has a cure for cancer. But even though we have the right to try, Congressman, we can't. I'm helping someone right now trying to get into that treatment program. I have one friend who was actually saved from it, a good local friend here. And so I don't understand why, if the right to try passed, what's still missing that people can't get into programs like his?
Well, it has to be by agreement of the people who are doing the trial. This simply says that the FDA would acknowledge the trial, would look at their outcomes, and could not, instead of starting at scratch, could start with a basis of data and information they have, which might help them stop the time frame or shorten the time frame that would be required. But the bottom line is that I think the advantage is it uses existing data that can be reviewed, and it would cost less and save time. So this is where we're trying to help our biotech companies who are in a race with competitors around the globe on answers not just about biotech, but answers of marketplace. And so where we're in competition, primarily, we have to admit, is China. We need to be able to vet those products, and I think this is the right thing to do. It will be a bipartisan bill and will be something that, as you suggest, most people see the reality of how it could help them.
Yeah, the problem is it is an FDA them stopping. I just checked it out. It is the FDA that is stopping them. So there are still some stops in place that are preventing people from getting treatments and possibly cures. I'm glad that you're working on this issue. Please stay on it. And if I can ever be helpful in that effort, I would love to. Congressman Pete Sessions, thanks for your time.
You already are being helpful, and thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Nice.
All right, coming up, a shocking new intelligence claim about Iran's new supreme leader and why it could expose a major hypocrisy at the heart of the regime. We'll break it down next. Stay with us.
Get ready, America. March 25th through 28th. CPAC USA 2026 takes over the Lone Star State. And Real America's Voice brings you wall-to-wall coverage. Live shows from the convention floor, exclusive interviews, powerful panels, live music, entertainment, and more. All from the RAV stage. Hear from RAV's own Steve Bannon.
The only way we don't have victory if we surrender. And we're not going to retreat. We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit.
Eric Bowling.
Real leadership listens without lecturing. It respects people enough to talk to them, not down to them.
And Jack Posobiec live.
Freedom is a responsibility that we must uphold every single day of our lives.
Plus Dr. Gina and others.
We always came together because we know what we're fighting for.
CPAC USA 2026, only on Real America's Voice, presented by Birch Gold Group and Patriot Mobile. Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of Real America's Voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered. Let's spill some tea.
Let's Spill Some Tea is sponsored by Artillery Tea Company, the veteran-owned patriotic tea brand delivering premium whole leaf tea and biodegradable sachets that brew twice as strong. Patriots, if you love great tea on your terms, check out the Patriots Brew Club for automatic shipments that you control. You can cancel or swap flavors anytime with no commitments. You'll also get free shipping on every order, tiered discounts up to 20%, and free milestone rewards along the way. Brew strong, stay patriotic. Head to artilleryteaco.com right now and click Join the Patriots Brew Club to get started. It's time now to spill some tea, and in the cup today, a stunning intelligence report is raising new questions about Iran's new supreme leader. U.S. intelligence officials say they believe Iran's new supreme leader, who recently succeeded his father, may be gay, an allegation that has circulated inside Iran for years but has largely been kept quiet within U.S. government circles. Sources say President Trump was briefed on the intelligence last week and was surprised by the claim, which comes as the regime in Tehran enforces some of the world's harshest penalties for homosexuality. For further discussion, let's bring in Dr. Gina and Terrance Bates. Gina, want to get your thoughts on all of this. I mean, it sounds like this is something that is a secret in Iran, but now it's kind of coming out here.
Well. When your own moral extremism gets in the way of your supreme leader, I don't even know. It's like one of those things, Terrance, where, you know, when liberals do something that kind of comes back to bite them or benefits in some way conservatives, I kind of feel like that's what this is. I feel like this is just, it's poetic, honestly, like that they have somebody who they're defending, but is totally against their own morals. They throw gay people off of buildings, and then they talk about how America is evil. So let's just, go ahead, Terrance.
No doubt. If in fact it's confirmed that he is gay, and it gets out to the masses there, particularly the most extreme elements of that regime, I can't imagine that he would survive very long. Then again, he may not survive very long in general, because even just this morning, the Israelis took out some major leaders there in Iran, and that leadership is really crumbling. Again, what I look forward to, Dr. Gina, is the Iranian people, the rank and file, just the regular, average, everyday people, taking control of their country and becoming a country that is, even if not friendly, that at least isn't a threat to the United States and its regional partners. Right now, Iran is everybody's enemy. I mean, they're shooting other Islamic states. They're attacking other Islamic countries in the region. And it just once again proves that it is the biggest purveyor of terror in the world.
Yeah, it's really going to have to be a moment, I think, Emily, where the military goes, all right, you know, looks like the regime is weakened enough that we can actually initiate the turn on their very own government. And I think that this rumor being out there, honestly, might put them a little bit closer, because you really wonder what the militarists, even the militant military who are aligned with the regime, what they might be thinking regarding them protecting him in this scenario, because it would be against their religion to do so, right?
Absolutely.
So very interesting.
Yeah. Dr. G and Emily, I wonder if this rumor really catches hold, if there's not an assassination from within the military, from within the Revolutionary Guard. But the concern then becomes who takes over next, what other extremist takes over. And that's why I go back to the Iranian people have got to stand up. They've got to take control of their government. Otherwise, you've got all these extremists who just pop up one after another. I think David has called it whack-a-mole. And that's what this ultimately comes out to.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point, Terrance. All right, still to come on American Sunrise, President Trump is slamming California Governor Gavin Newsom over his recent comments while promoting his new memoir. We'll talk about what the president said after the break. Don't miss it.
Running on empty, brain fog, can't focus, and those sugar-loaded energy drinks? Sure, they spike you fast, then crash you hard. Fix it with Soldier Fuel, the official energy drink of Real America's Voice. Soldier Fuel was born in the military to solve a real problem. Troops were relying on sugary drinks that wreck performance, so they built a better option. Zero sugar and steady energy, powered by caffeine, taurine, inositol, and extra B vitamins for clean energy and focus. No roller coaster crash. This isn't gas station hype. Soldier Fuel was built alongside the U.S. military and proven where it counts. Used by American soldiers and elite special operations.
This is really good.
And when you fuel up, you give back. 15% of profits go to pro-military charities. Scan the QR code, search for Soldier Fuel on Amazon, or go to buysoldierfuel.com and get an automatic 15% off your entire order. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. Gina with my very own pot of gold this morning, in case you were needing one, and my rainbow down my shoulder. It is time now for the one to watch, and here is what I'm keeping my eye on today. President Trump taking shots at California Governor Newsom after the Democrat governor opened up about his learning disabilities while promoting his new memoir. Newsom has discussed his struggles with reading and writing in the book. Part of a broader personal story he's sharing, as he's widely seen as a possible contender for 2028 in that Democrat primary. But President Trump argues the country still needs strong leadership, adding that presidents shouldn't have learning disabilities. Take a look.
With a low IQ person, because Gavin Newsom has admitted that he has learning disabilities. Honestly, I'm all for people with learning disabilities, but not for my president. I think a president should not have learning disabilities, okay? And I know it's highly controversial to say such a horrible thing. The President of the United States, Gavin Newsom, admitted that he has learning disabilities, dyslexia, everything about him is dumb. But
Ouch.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I'm just going to let you guys comment. I'm not going to say anything.
Look, the man said that he couldn't read. You know what I mean? The president of the United States needs to be able to read. This came out of his own mouth.
He said he struggles reading. And there are a lot of people out there that are dyslexic and struggle with reading. I don't think, personally, I don't know. I may be biased. I have a son with a disability, and I have a lot of people in my life who have certain learning disabilities. Learning disabilities are not equatable to like a retardation or something. And I think that's where the media is just going to have a field day with this one, T.
Dr. Gina, I think you're spot on. And the reality is many people, many successful people who have learning disabilities learn to cope. They learn coping mechanisms. They learn mechanisms that help them circumvent their challenges, let's put it that way. And they're still